Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
Who is joining us today?
Joining us today in the Days Grimm shoebox is CHRIS MCELWAIN. How are you?
Closer.
Doing good.
McWayne.
McElwain.
All right, turn the music down so I can hear him enunciate his own last. How do I enunciate your last name?
Mac L.
McElwain.
McElwain.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you get that fucking right, dude?
I don't know.
Jeez, I apologize. You know what I mean.
Names are hard. But English.
Hey, they are. They are.
Welcome to the Days Grimm, brother. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for joining us on a Sunday. You
Yep.
know,
The Sabbath.
The Lord. Well, technically, I think the Sabbath's on a Saturday.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Muslims do
Technically.
Friday, the Jays do Saturday, and the Christians do Sunday.
Dude, it's seriously, you're wearing the J's out.
I'm
J.
trying to
I don't-
be.
So Tom
appropriate.
has told several Jewish jokes that are they're clever in their own right, but sometimes the way he shut up. Sometimes when he tells a joke, he'll like emphasize like real hard, and I'm like, now I gotta edit it out. Now it sounds like hate speech, or whatever.
And
So-
now you get to edit that out.
Yeah, but anyways,
So-
so now since I've confronted him about that, now he's like, well, the Jays. And I'm like, dude, that doesn't sound any better. I think it's just your overall look that you got going on that I don't think that you should even be allowed to talk about him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all over the internet. But anyways, all that bullshit aside, Chris, why don't you give our listeners like a brief elevator pitch of like who you are and what you do?
Okay. First, where did you get the ball of ice? It's like a perfect circle. Perfect sphere.
So a friend of mine, I'm so glad you might be the first person to ever ask. A friend of mine at my place of employment, which I do not disclose where that is because of the topics on this show, but a friend of mine at work said he surprised me with a Christmas gift, and it was not a bot. He gave me 2 whiskey glasses, which they're not up here, but he gave me 2 whiskey glasses, and with it, ice ball cube making kit. And it's basically just
Like silicone, right?
Yeah, it's silicone because silicone won't freeze to anything. And then it's like a plastic bottom. So, and then you just like put the water in the plastic bottom and then put the silicone top on and stick it in the freezer. And
Get microplastics.
yeah, it makes
in your ice.
Yeah, dude. I mean, oh, God. Speaking of freaking cancer, dude. Did you see on Rogan about living close to a golf course?
And like runoff due to
It
the
increases,
herbicide.
yeah, from the pesticides and the herbicides, and it like increases your risk of
What's
cancers.
the shit that RFK is always talking about? He like made a giant lawsuit, like won for it. It was the shit that was in Roundup.
I haven't heard.
I can't remember.
It was a huge class like action settlement. You got like $5.
But I saw it on Rogan, and now I'm like, dude, I live within a mile of a golf course. I gotta fucking move. Anyways, so back to your elevator pitch. We just diverted crazily. Welcome to the Days Grimm. But yeah, dude. So your elevator pitch. Who are you, and what do you do? What have you? Who is CHRIS
MCELWAIN.
Yeah.
MCELWAIN?
I'm going to skip saying my last name. It's been said enough.
You're just gonna
But yeah.
scare and confuse everybody in the room.
But yeah. Well, I've done a whole lot. Right now, I'm a truck driver.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Like CDL truck driver, or chauffeur licensed truck driver.
I would say that it
Or if you don't
should
have either
technically
license,
be.
maybe we shouldn't talk
I
about
do
it.
have a Class A.
What does that mean?
So
Class A CDL?
Yeah, so
Oh, that's a CDL.
I can drive semi trucks,
Oh, okay.
but I don't.
Okay.
In order to find something local, you have to have over the road experience. I don't want to do that. I got 4 kids and a wife, and
That's rough. Being
That's-
gone for multiple days.
yes, yeah.
So truck driver, family of 4 with a wife. You ex-military, used to do coding,
Yes.
and you have like a major passion for technology.
I do. Yeah, I have a major passion for technology, physics, psychology, religion, like all of that stuff is up my road.
Basically everything
So-
that's like scary and overwhelming.
Basically,
for normal
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
okay.
And I guess for some of the listeners, Zach Parsons has been on. We've talked estuary with him and Perry, and that's how we met. Pretty cool group where you can talk about all those things.
Yeah, Perry was interesting, dude. We started talking about like existential fear and like how minuscule and how unimportant we are, and like I didn't feel any better about life after talking to Dr. Perry. I was like, all right, yeah, we're both just like,
Yeah.
you know him pretty
Yeah.
well, so yeah. But yeah, he's super cool, dude, man.
I guess before we dive in deeper on you, Chris, you guys want to knock out this Death of the Week real fast?
You're
Yeah.
familiar with the shows? You've seen one of these before?
Yes.
The Deaths of the Week? Oh, buddy. I wonder if you've seen this clip. And hey, and while I'm reading this here in a minute, can you try to find the clip? Here in a minute. We'll talk about it afterwards. Here we go to this week's Death of the Week, brought to you by
Grit.com.
Yeah, I can barely read that. Hero Aussie dad disappears while rescuing 10-foot shark. Here we go. They breed them a little different down here in South Australia. Long a shark, and by shark, I mean big shark hotspot. Okay, I don't understand. As one Beach Grit reader put it last Christmas after a young surfer was killed meters from shore, quote, "In South Australia, you can have sharks or you can have surfing. You can't have both," end quote. So moving on. 2 months before that, 55-year-old surfer Todd Gendel, not sure how you say that, was killed and disappeared. Disappeared by a 15-foot great white at Granites. 20 clicks out of Streaky Bay, South
How far
Australia.
is 20 clicks for you military folk?
Is that 13 miles?
I don't remember how that measurement.
It's almost like it's 2.2. I think 2.2 clicks is 1 mile. Pretty sure. Here nor there. Clicks of 20 clicks outside of Streaky Bay, South Australia, 700 clicks northwest of Adelaide.
Is that like a metric?
Yeah, it's just a kilometer. Yeah, it's a kilometer.
1 click is a kilometer.
1 click is a kilometer. Yeah, and I think there's 2.2 clicks in a mile. We can verify that here in a minute. Going on, and earlier in 2023, and just 100 clicks to the south, local school teacher Simon Bacanello was killed by a great white while
These
surfing.
are just multiple deaths of people.
Yeah, this is not great. So anyways, can we find... Is this the guy? Hold on. I think this is it. Aussie dad Tristan Turner had been hailed a hero. This is it. This is the main death of the week. I'm so sorry for all that bullshit in the beginning, folks. Here we go. So Aussie dad Tristan Turner has been hailed a hero after saving a lightly wounded 10-foot bronze whaler his kids had accidentally hooked while fishing off Kangaroo Island's American River jetty. Quote, "Dad, no," end quote, screams one of his kids when his daddy jumps into the drink. Man, they got some weird fucking lingo. Quote, "We needed to get the hook out and let it go, so I just swam it around to the boat ramp, off the rocks, got the hook out of it, got it back swimming again," end quote, Turner told 7 News. "I horrified my son when I swam off with it. He was a bit scared, but they're a pretty friendly species of shark. Daddy, who wrangled trapped crocodiles for a living up there in wild Northern Territory for almost a decade, says he has long... Oh, so he didn't die. This is horseshit. I thought he died.
No.
Well, we got 2 shark deaths leading up to.
I think in the beginning it said that he made it back riding the fin.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. See if it'll play this clip. I thought this dude dies. Make sure you mute the volume. Oh, it's not going to let us play it. Oh, here we go. Just mute it when it plays.
No.
Damn it.
Bad link.
Yeah, shit
GG.
link. All right. Well, that guy didn't die anyway, so we don't even need to see it. It's really upsetting. But we got 2 deaths in between. Shout out to that guy that saved that shark, though. Okay, so thoughts on sharks?
I was in an anger management class one time.
Yeah.
And the instructor, if you will, said something about like his worst fear, like 10 out of 10, was being eaten by a shark. And I get that, but at the same time, I can definitely think of things that are scarier.
Dude, when I was little and I used to go swimming in like public pools, used to think that like they would release a shark in there. Sometimes.
Why?
And also, I just want to for the record, I was in anger management because the Army made me go. Not that I'm an angry person. I've always been a pretty calm,
they made you go, but
person.
they didn't make Jake go.
Sorry, Jake. I don't think you're that angry. Also, I don't think you're that angry. You seem pretty well resolved, pretty level-headed.
I just
unless you.
I didn't have much of a tolerance for BS.
Okay.
And when you don't follow orders, guys who are 1 or 2 ranks above you,
it's frowned upon. Yeah, it's frowned upon, dude.
When you just call out things logically, it's just like that doesn't make much sense to me. They get angry, but it's like I'm the one with the problem.
But you're going to anger management,
right?
What the fuck is happening here?
That's what happened.
I
was probably more angry in anger management than I was anywhere else in life.
What do they teach you in anger management?
How to manage your
anger. Have you ever seen the movie Anger Management?
I actually haven't seen it.
Really? Mm-mm. Such a good movie.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Jack Nicholson.
Sorry.
Jack Nicholson winds up
with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I think he starts fake boning his girlfriend to try to make him more mad.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah,
check it out sometime.
My thought real quick on sharks is I think they're fucking sick, dude. I would be honored to be a shark's meal. Seriously, I think we were talking about.
Have you ate shark?
No, I'd love to.
It's pretty good.
Fucking sick. But no, we were talking earlier about the things that you're into. Overwhelming items that just seem, you said, you list off a bunch of things, religion,
technology,
physics, things that are overwhelming. And I talk to people about this all the time. You never really realize how small you are until you wind up in the ocean and how insignificant you really are. So I think sharks are fucking dope, dude.
Yeah.
So if I could get ate by a shark, I don't think I'd be that scared about it. Be whatever.
Did you guys hear that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
What you got
Just
going
making sure I got a little indigestion.
Oh, okay. Damn.
I can hear it.
You got some water?
Yeah, I got some water.
Shit, dude, we're square.
Yeah, Brian's
start belching.
Brian will hook you up, man.
Sorry.
He did university for phys ed teacher.
Yeah, I'm basically a
nurse,
overly qualified PE teacher.
Something like that.
That's fucking sick, dude.
So, Chris, did you grow up in Evansville?
No. Well, yes and no.
Were you born in Evansville?
Mm-mm.
Okay, where were you born?
So I was born in southwestern Kansas in a town called Liberal.
A lot of Republicans there?
I would say so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I left when I was...
There you go. Don't be afraid of that mic, dude.
That 9.
Really good.
And my mom moved up here. I guess she was originally from here.
Where is Liberal at?
It's the very southwestern corner of Kansas, kind of here. Southwestern corner of Indiana.
8 hours away from here.
14.
Damn.
What's the neighbor to your west? Montana?
Colorado.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, dude. Okay. Sick. Yeah. And you lived there how long? Till you were 9?
Basically.
And then you came here to Evansville?
Mount Vernon.
Oh, you poor soul.
Thank you.
So Posey County. So we're clear. Posey County, Mount Vernon, Indiana. Oh, God.
9, that would have, I don't know what grade that would have been, but that's kind of, at least you get in before middle school.
Yeah.
To that group.
I started 5th grade in Mount Vernon.
What school did you go to? Remember what?
West?
Was it West? Okay.
I think that's what it was.
Nice, you went to Mount Vernon.
Not for elementary, so I went to Daniel Works.
Did you go all the way through to high school in Mount Vernon?
Yes. Did
you play any sports?
No. I did try out for the basketball team. They didn't want me.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're tall.
I'm not that tall. But I can shoot.
We're just short, dog. It's fine.
What are you, 6'1"?
No, I'm 5'9".
Really?
He was our height. Yeah, dude.
Oh, damn.
I was kind of hesitating. I was like, well, I guess I didn't walk alongside him very long. Maybe he is 6 foot.
I thought he was tall.
It's hard to judge somebody's height when they're seated.
Yeah,
when they're sitting down. You know what I mean?
So, anyways, what were you into in high school? Since you didn't really play sports, were you just like, I mean, Mount Vernon, there's nothing to do. So,
yeah. So, man, I had a few really good friends who are, we're still really good friends. All of us got families and stuff now, busy lives. But back in our teenage years, we were just little hoodlums.
Oh yeah.
We just ran around and caused mayhem. That was, I mean, we rode bikes. We did a little like BMX, if you will.
Oh yeah.
And skateboarding and shit like that. But a lot of the times, we actually got into YouTube, making YouTube videos and rapping.
So you're younger than me, because I don't feel like YouTube was real big.
How old are you?
35.
Yeah, I'll be 32. So.
Oh, well, okay. You're not that much younger than me. Damn, I was going to put you.
But they had like I remember being like,
it was like when Ray William Johnson was
8th grade year,
famous.
And they were doing like, they had like the college prank wars that was like huge on YouTube, and like there was just like starting to get like skits, and like YouTube was finally
blooming.
Yeah, like you could finally watch it on TV. I think that was the game changer for him. It was like consoles finally put YouTube on there, and you could like watch YouTube on your TV instead of like on a computer.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, what? So were you into like technology and like history and like all that like sciencey or like deeper thinking stuff like in high school, or was it just like learning camera gear, filming hood rat shit, and like having fun?
Yeah,
filming shit.
My friends were a lot crazier than I was. I was always more cautious. I was a very anxious kid, and whenever they were always wanting to do
crazy stuff,
crazy videos like smashing fluorescent light bulbs and wrecking motorcycles.
Hell yeah, brother.
2 liters
shit like that.
With the works in aluminum foil.
Yeah, of course.
The works bombs, dude.
I was more of the creative one. It's coming up with little storylines and like 5-10 minute little videos. Like,
so you guys filmed some of those, put them out?
Yeah, I mean, my whole channel was deleted when I was in my mid-20s. I found it to be pretty embarrassing. So,
you deleted it?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like YouTube took it down because they found the bodies or something.
Early 20s. So that's after high school. What did you do from like high school to your early 20s? Like, did you enlist then, or did you?
Yeah. When did you go in? When was that?
So I dropped out of high school when I was 16, after my sophomore year, and I kind of fucked around for summer. Then I actually started college.
You like got your GED and then started college at like 17, 18?
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I think
what did you go to college for?
The first time, I think I went for pre-med, but yeah, I've been to college a whole lot. Like most of my life outside of the Army was college.
So you go to college for pre-med, and that ends up not working. So then you enlist?
No, I came back here because that was in Kansas. I went back and forth a lot.
Gotcha.
And I went for 1 semester, and then I came back here and worked at Dairy Queen for a little bit, and I went to Ivy Tech for a little bit. Then I went back to Kansas, and I was homeless for a little bit, and then I decided
homeless in Kansas.
Yeah, and so I've got some pretty fucked up stories.
How
but
shitty was that,
dude? We had a buddy on here one time that was from Evansville, went to California with his dad.
No, his uncle.
Was it his uncle?
Or fuck.
I think it was his dad.
Yeah, it was his dad.
And then they became homeless in California, and like they were in line for showers, and like they watched a dude get like stabbed over like somebody.
A dog.
Yeah, a dog.
Yeah.
And then like the line just stepped over this dead guy, like because nobody wanted to get out of their place for like the shower. And now he's making a movie.
Wow.
No, we're mixing 2 people. That was Alex Fetcher. Alex
It
Fetcher.
was Fetcher. Yeah, you're right.
Alex Fetcher, shout out, big dog.
But didn't Mike used to be homeless?
Yeah,
Mike, him and his dad lived in a tent off 41.
By the way, we love homeless people. We're big. I'm very pro advocate.
No, because like that's like a cool like. It's crazy to think that like you were growing up in college and all this stuff that like our generation was preached to, and then like that shit's hard. Like you're just forced into like basically a failed system, take on debt, and then like if you don't have a family there to like help pay for it or to like help you live,
support,
then like it crumbles, and then like basically you go down to rock bottom, and then like now look at you, house,
Thriving.
4 kids, wife, car,
Trying,
job.
What was well, are we allowed to like stop throughout the timeline now?
Yeah.
I want to ask about being homeless in Kansas. What the hell was that like, dude? Is that pretty crazy?
It wasn't very long. My dad had told me, I just turned 18 this time, and my dad had told me, he could get me a job at National Beef, which is one reason why I recommend never going to Liberal. It just smells like, well, it smells like boiling blood. Because
delicious.
That's what, I mean.
Right, that's the process.
That's what they do with
just like a metally, irony, burnt irony.
I can't even describe it. Yeah. I can smell it right now.
Yeah, it's fucking.
But it's not
daunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I went back and I tried to get a job there, and I was 18 and I didn't want to fucking work Saturdays. So when they asked me if I'd work Saturdays, I was like, oh no. So I didn't get the job. The guy I was staying with was like, you got 1 week, which is not enough time to find a job and save up, find your own place.
Fuck.
And my dad wasn't willing to kind of work with me.
Yeah. Was this guy you were staying with a friend of yours?
It was a friend's dad. And
so he was being firm on you, like in a dad figure type of way.
More or less, but I also think it had to do with, not wanting that responsibility of some other kid, more or less. Yeah. Just kind of
still kind
freeloading off of him.
Still kind of a dick move to kick a child out of your house. All right, see you later, kid. Pack your shit.
I guess it's all about perspective.
Yeah, and
I learned a little bit from it.
Yeah, he helped shape the man who's sitting in front of me today.
That's what's crazy too. Is like you're probably now at the age that guy was, and then like looking back on it, like that's like what I like find is like these like trauma experiences I had with like parents or like whatever, and then like I'm now the age they were, and it's like, oh, I'm dealing with a much younger kid at this age, but at the same point in time, like I can understand how they may have lost their cool or chill or whatever at times.
Do either of you have kids?
Yeah, I do.
I do not.
Okay, I remember you saying you had kids
for good reason.
Well, I recommend to people to have kids.
It changes. It's a whole perspective shift.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just too mentally...
And then unless you're Bob Marley's dad, you want your kid to do better than you.
Well, it forces you into a different mentality and perspective in life. I mean, if I didn't have kids, I probably would I would think that I would probably be in jail or dead.
You think so?
Yes, because the way that I was conducting myself was a lot out of spite and fear throughout my 20s.
Let's not just cruise over that. Explain that a little bit.
Well, what's the age gap between each kid? Like, you don't have to say their ages or anything, but what's the gap between them?
All my kids?
Yeah.
Man, how many you got?
He said 4.
He said, all my kids? Okay. Yeah, what are the age ranges?
My oldest is 11.
Okay.
And then 7, 3, and 6 months.
So the nice part there, just assuming, is like the 11-year-old, like when I had my son, like my life was crazy at the time. Like I was doing all kinds of just hood rat shit and like living wild for like the first 2-3 years. And then that kid starts to develop a memory. And then you're like, oh, like I really have to step up my game and like actually, you know what I mean? Like it really sets in. It's easy to make sure something's fed, washed, taken care of in that aspect. But then when you got to actually start like realize that like, there's a little bit of nurture that's carrying over that's going to last long term.
Yeah.
But by the time you had the 7-year-old, you already had, 4 or 5 years of experience and like probably in better shape.
Kind of. I spent a long time battling a lot of demons, if you will, after the military, and wasn't quite involved as much as I should have been with my first. we have a great relationship now, and he actually picks up so much from me that I have to. I'm starting to try to be careful about some of the things that I joke so much, and my wife's, she calls me out on it, for good reason, and I've always just like, it's not that big of a deal. But now sometimes he'll crack, jokes that I think are a little above his age range.
Right.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
The dice.
So
that's just one
how
example.
old were you when you did enlist? Was this after being homeless? Like when you were like, I gotta do something?
Okay, so my 3 good friends all enlisted as well. I would have never enlisted. I was way too anxious. In fact, from the age of, I'd say younger, I was very anxious, but when I was 14, I developed panic disorder, and that was a plunge into hell.
Do you think...
And so I would have never actually done this if it weren't for the motivation of my friends going in.
Was there like a...
You mean the podcast?
No.
I'm sorry. No. Well, practically anything, but military.
Okay, so you had friends that didn't... Okay.
I just didn't know, like, was there like an existential crisis you had at that age that like started to develop?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, probably. I mean, like...
Right, because that's what, like...
I think I've had enough of
We
those.
talked before the show, I passed out the side of blood, and people are like, what happened to you? And I'm like, Doc, nothing happened to me. Unless something happened when I was a baby and I have no memories. Like, I remember being this way from, like, the very first time you ever had to get school shots.
Fucking Dexter Morgan over here, dude. Fucking relax, bro.
But I have, like, the same anxiety, but it's like, is the world ending? It's, like, crippling, like, whatever. So I get it.
Oh, God.
But-
you have no idea how funny that reference is. You've never watched
I've watched Dexter.
You have, and the
Yeah.
baby's born in blood? Okay, yeah. All right, you get it. I thought it was funnier than it actually was. I do want to pump the brakes on, like, signing up, though. You said you were conducting yourself poorly. Like, what were some hood rat activities you were doing? Just, like, I don't know. What were you doing? Were you, like, robbing banks? Were you, like, what were you doing? I mean, I'm just curious. What were you into?
Like before the Army?
No, when you were, like, hood ratting around. What was that weird pop?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, that was strange. That never happens. Anyways, but yeah, so like I guess you said
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much detail I want to give, but I would say
just poor choices in general.
there was a lot of poor choices.
Okay.
Very impulsive. For the rush, spite. Whatever you can think of. There was a lot of I faced a lot of malevolence growing up, and I didn't know how to deal with that. There's actually somebody that talks about that on Joe Rogan, about like ADHD, how people are exposed to certain things that they don't know how to deal with, and they develop these coping mechanisms that come out more or less as ADHD symptoms, but he doesn't actually believe ADHD exists. Again, off topic. I said I would do this, but
you're good.
But the things that I was doing before the Army also carried on after. So I got this nice, almost 4 years of somewhat disciplinary kind of lifestyle,
Like a
structured lifestyle,
Stability.
and then, and you know how it is. You get out and you kind of.
They don't give you a fucking packet. Here's how to do the
Well,
rest
it's
of your life.
if you went through the process and did claims and everything, you get a paycheck.
Yeah.
But as much as I appreciate that, they actually fucked me, and we'll get into that. So I joined the military for those two reasons. My friends joined, and I wanted stability.
Mm-hmm. Paycheck.
I wanted to be able to have some fucking money, have some structure. But
Was the structure big to you? So, like, if I didn't pass out the side of blood, I would have loved to join the military, just due to the aspect of, like, I had no structure. So, like, I would like to be forced to wake up and do things. Like Brian has so many positive skills that, like, translate that he learned in the military. Like, works out every day, runs every day, like, wakes up early every day. You can stay up late and, like, manage and, like, all this stuff. But, like, I wasn't forced that. So,
yes. Brian, you can probably also understand the opposite of structure that happens in the military. I mean, it's pretty chaotic.
Oh yeah, anarchy.
The way that they more or less promote people, and then the way people change after their promotions, the way that people treat you, just because of this sense of power, is incredible to witness and to experience.
It's worse in the infantry, and
I'm sure.
I'll say this because
Should we discuss ASVAB scores and different branches too?
35 get you in the door, brother. You can be 11 Bravo at 35. I know that because I got a 36.
I don't
but
remember what I
anyways,
got.
yeah. So like you've got the most degenerate human beings on planet Earth all in one MOS. It's like the most dirtiest dirtbags you've ever met in your entire life. And then B, they train you to be literally a psychopathic, blood hungry machine. They want you to be a killer. So God bless you. But anyway, so like you get these degenerates that are trained to be overtly violent, and then some of them die downrange, or not a lot of people, whatever.
Some of them witness death.
Promoting. The point is to add to his point is that like promotion in the infantry way easier than any other MOS. We die a lot. The infantry, we die a lot. It's what we're good at. You know what I mean? So like they're always missing leadership and filling in gaps. So someone's always getting promoted. But that person that's getting promoted is also an ultra-violent degenerate. You know what I mean? So, you're rolling the dice on he's going to be a good leader or he's going to be a bad leader. Either way,
they're going to get put in a leadership position if they want.
Yeah, because we need him. And either way, he's still an ultra-violent fucking degenerate. You know what I mean?
They're not the CIA.
I've seen so many poor leaders, to your point, in the infantry for those reasons right there.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
But it stems outside of the military too, in corporations. A lot of people get these jobs that they just really don't fit, and then they get this power surge,
entitlement.
Yes, and entitlement, and you should respect me. I've earned this, and it's like,
don't talk to me like that.
What I think makes like some good leaders, like my boss right now is a decent boss. He's a good boss, but like he got promoted at like a very low ranking in the company, like entry level jeweler, and then like became a boss. And so like he came from nothing and now knows like a shit ton. And like, so like, but like the way he like builds the team and like works with each individual, like that's what I think would be like a good leader.
Somebody that's able to actually get out there and do it with you.
Right. To be in the
regardless of the conditions, and that's just one kind of check mark, more or less.
What are some other check marks you have I like this topic real quick, so I don't mind to pump the brakes here, but what are some other topic or key points you think that like a good leader should have? Like what are some other boxes that they should have to check?
I would say I've always been in like an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think that it's important that if you're going to lead, even at a bottom level leadership role, that you can think outside of the box, that you don't just get stuck in this system of
barking orders down the line.
Yeah, one of those for sure. And so where I work now, I have no complaints of my management. I could say some things, but I won't. But in other areas, in other jobs and in the military, back to the military.
I could talk military until the cows come home, brother.
Some of my best friends at the time, friends come and go. But some of my best friends at the time decided that they wanted to go to the board and get their E5.
Yeah.
And their whole mentality just changed. It's
When
like they're way better than me now.
They got that stamp of approval when they got their E4P or whatever.
Yeah. Or even, like after we got back from Afghanistan, everybody but me and one other guy got a cab or whatever it's called.
Combat action badge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And none of us really went out in combat. We got cabs. They did.
You guys got mortared
because of mortars.
Yeah.
Yes. And everybody was just on their high horse about it. Yeah, look at me. I got this cab. And I'm like, I don't want one. Like, I know people personally that were out there every day.
Yeah.
In action. Yes, mortars are scary. Absolutely. And I had my fair share of what I've seen and heard. But I wasn't out shooting people. I think that's more important. Like, we're trained to be these psychopathic killers, more or less, is kind of how you worded
Animalistic,
it.
very
Like, you look at them as a target, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're not trained to see them with any emotion. It's just get the job done. And so the guys that are actually out getting the job done, when they come back and they start to process this emotionally, this was a person. This person may have been someone's daughter or son or somebody's father, and so on and so forth. And then that gets to them. That's the kind of thing that you could earn a badge to wear, in my opinion. Otherwise, I mean, I don't really see the point. But besides that, you know, like,
I love
these rewards that people get. You know, the higher position, the medals. You know, like, look at me. You know, like wearing the deployment badge. Even I had a little bit of sense of entitlement. You know, like guys that would outrank me that haven't been deployed yet. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face. You know.
Yeah. What have you fucking done?
Right.
You have that
you
chip
know,
on your shoulder.
Well, I also I assume your guys' basic training might have been similar. Did you have any like extra? No.
Basic training.
Basic probably. Yeah.
Basic
I went to South Carolina in August, which was really hot. So
Fort Sill? No, that's not Fort. What is that? Fort Polk? No, that's Louisiana.
Well, what
Jackson?
was like your specialty? Like
Fort Jackson? Does that sound right? Dude,
what would you call it? Like your
time.
class? Like what was your like profession in your
MOS?
unit?
My MOS. Ready?
Yeah. Hit me with it again because I've already forgot the numbers and
the code or whatever was 92 Lima.
92 Lima.
I was a Petroleum Laboratory Specialist. Tested jet fuel.
Okay, that's hot, dude.
Well, until I got to my unit. So
Hot enough to burn.
So what happened was,
9/11, never forget.
Yeah.
I just watched that documentary.
Nice.
Have you watched it?
Which one?
The Bin Laden one that just came out on that.
No, I haven't seen it.
Go ahead. You were testing jet fuel.
Dude, that's a whole nother story, man.
Yeah,
the conspiracies behind it.
Dude, we'll get to it if you want to, but I don't want to skip over Afghanistan. I want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a transformative moment.
I want to cover testing jet fuel, basic, and then what it was like experiencing out of the country.
Broad spectrum. I will answer the basic training question for him. Basically, every United States Army soldier goes through the same
right, but you had to take
basic
extra classes to test
then
jet
you
fuel.
go to AIT
or
after,
OSET or whatever it's called.
Yeah, which is after your basic training, and then that is specific to your job. So when he was in basic, he could have been in basic training with a bunch of different people from different jobs that they signed up for. But
then you go to your specified
AIT,
class where they're teaching you probably like some chemistry.
Where was your
More or
AIT
less.
at? Do you remember where that was at?
Virginia or West Virginia. I can't remember which one.
And then that was when you learned about
Testing
petroleum
fuel.
testing.
Yeah.
Or what? How did you word it?
Petroleum Laboratory Specialist.
So in my mind, civilian mind, no military experience.
You're good.
When I think testing jet fuel, I think they're going to put you on a boat, like a carrier.
No, it was a nice little camper looking thing.
Do the helicopters use jet fuel?
They use JP8, which is just the military's version of gasoline, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I had 10 weeks of my life learning about different types of fuels, and I haven't thought of that shit ever again.
I'm surprised you didn't try to go work at Country Mart in Boonville when you
hell no. First of all, I hated it, but second of all, I didn't do it for more than 10 weeks because when I got to my unit, they didn't have that there.
And you were getting to that point in your story. So then anyways, you go through your 10 weeks of AIT, you learn your job, your MOS, and you're like, all right, I think I got it. And then you go to you get your mission or your orders to go to whatever base you're going to be stationed at, which was where?
Not quite.
No.
So they were, sort of. They were going to send me to Korea.
Bro.
That's where they send mainly the Marines, like the first year.
Well,
There's
first of all,
base out there.
Really?
They send a lot of Army folk out there.
I know they send a lot of. I had a buddy that was like real good friends up the street from me in Indy, and he enlisted and went Marines. And they sent him to Korea, and then from Korea to Japan.
Yeah, that's common. But anyway, so they were going to send you to Korea. Where did you wind up going?
Well, I had a baby on the way.
Oh.
And
so
a buddy of mine was like, hey, man, if we go to RASP, which is Ranger Assessment and Selection Program, it's where you go to become a ranger. Because he was supposed to go to Korea, too. He's like, we can get out of that.
Yeah.
And then we actually fell in love with the concept of becoming rangers. Hard as fuck.
Not easy, bro.
I'd never thrown up in so much in my entire life.
So you went to RASP.
I went to RASP.
What was that like? Talk me through this because I want to know. I never went. I want to know.
Reception, is that what it's called?
Yeah, just when they bring you in day one, shark attack type shit, they just attack you.
You had
you.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
We stood in line for showers.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
naked.
Yes, all naked.
Yep, dicks out.
Yep, you soaped up before you got in. You rinsed off. You had like 10, 20 seconds to get the fuck out of the shower.
And it's ice cold for sure.
Ice cold. And we would do, we did PT and everything before that, and it was, way longer than any PT you did in basic.
Oh yeah, dude, that's a lot of
or
Bravo
AIT.
PT you're going through, baby.
Yeah, and
Yeah, a guy died in his basic.
Yeah, dude,
yeah, we
straight
had
up.
people die too, but
Oh shit.
heat injuries because I went in August, so it was god awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you had a couple minutes to eat at most, like you know how it is. And so they'd flip your tray and everything like that, and that would piss me off because I like to eat my food.
Yeah. And they want you pissed.
But one of the weird things was when you're out in the field, your MREs, you eat every bit.
Yes.
You drink the hot sauce. You eat the salt packets. Like none of it goes to waste.
Nope.
At all.
Mm-mm.
I lasted, I think, 2 weeks, something like that.
In RASP.
Yeah.
Is that good?
No.
Not particularly.
But part of it was because I got to talking with my son's mother about how much I might deploy and the kinds of things that we would be doing, and that worried us both with a baby on the way.
Yeah.
And my anxiety kind of set in. And then the other thing was it was just really hard, and I was young, so I quit. And they sent me to this place called Worldwide.
What is that?
Well, it was like a barracks for quitters, and you did a bunch of shit jobs. Like in basic when people would quit, and you'd see them every now and then mowing the lawn or some shit, and they're all pissed off because they couldn't go home,
like jerking off the lunch ladies or whatever.
Yeah. It's like
shit work.
Yeah. And so I stayed there for about a month. Then I got my orders to 7th Special Forces Group, Airborne, in Florida. And I was super excited.
Where at in Florida? What city were you close to? Tampa?
Destin, Crestview, Fort Walton.
Okay. Fort Walton. You're on the Panhandle.
Yep. And it was a very small unit. It was kind of laid back. I mean, we didn't have to salute officers.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite different.
You didn't have to salute an officer?
Not one.
For real?
I mean, you still stood up at attention when they walked in the room, shit like that.
Yeah. Wild, dude.
But I was airborne, so we wore berets. But there was, I saw people, people had their hands in their pockets, walking around with cell phones, like shit that you would not. So whenever I deployed and we had to take a stop in Fort Bragg, they had to brief us. They were like, "You are not in your comfort zone anymore. Like if you guys fuck up here and it comes back on me, I'm gonna fuck you up."
Brother, I have a funny story about not saluting an officer. There was this, my buddy and I, we were at a smoke shack, right? There's a bunch of places because you're not allowed to do several things. Like in the Army, you're not allowed to walk and talk on a cell phone.
Right.
You're not allowed to have your hands in your pockets. You're not allowed to smoke and walk.
Right.
You're not allowed. Pretty much.
So you can smoke and stand.
Yes.
But you can't smoke and walk.
Correct. And you can stand and talk on a cell phone. You cannot walk and talk on a cell phone.
You have to stop walking.
But anyway, so like me and my buddy were having a cigarette. This is back when I smoked. And me and my buddy were having this cigarette. We're sitting at this, like, around this smoke pit little fucking bench thing or whatever. And we're watching this kid. He's like walking past us. He starts getting a call. Takes a call on his phone. Answers the phone. I can remember this like yesterday. Answers the phone in his left hand. And he's sitting there. He's not walking. He's just sitting there talking. And here down comes a fucking butter bar lieutenant. Fucking chest out. Fucking tits up. Just looking hard as a rock. By the way, a butter bar is like the most insignificant officer in the entire world. They're barely an officer.
What is it like?
He's a LT2. He's a second lieutenant. The lowest officer you can be. And he's coming, walking up, fucking chest all proud. He's coming up to the smoke area.
Got out of...
fresh out of fucking officer candidate school or something. Yeah. But anyways, he's walking past his kid, talking on the cell phone. The kid doesn't even make eye contact with the guy. And the lieutenant stops at him, and we can't hear what he's saying, but he slaps the phone out of the kid's hand, and then the kid salutes him, and then he walks on. Like, what the fuck did I just watch, dude?
Oh, see, that's kind of one of those fucking leadership things that I'm telling you about.
That's Fort Bliss for you, baby. That was, dude, Fort Bliss was like real fucking
So when you get your
shit,
orders
dude.
and you leave the country, you fly into Germany?
You threw me off.
So when you get your orders and you leave the country for the first time, you leave from the U.S. and you land in Germany. Is that the first country you land in? Well, it's like not U.S. when you leave.
Oh, you're talking about when he did his tour to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Is that,
Okay,
right,
yeah.
we're going to
Well,
Afghanistan
I
now.
was.
What was your travel like to
That
get
is
to
exactly.
Afghanistan?
So, yeah, we flew into Maine and then we flew into Germany.
Maine to Germany.
And we stayed in
Now,
Germany.
when you deployed,
I went to Maine and then
right?
to Germany.
But then when you were in Germany, they had like you went to a separate part of the airport, but then they had like glass smoke rooms.
Yeah.
Did they have like
in the airport?
Yeah,
Yes.
you could smoke in the airport.
Yeah,
Remember that?
I do.
And then also, it was funny. I was talking to Jake about this not too long ago, but we were talking about traveling and explaining it to a non-military person. They were like, yeah, it's really weird because like when Uncle Sam travels his soldiers all over the world, it's funny to notice because I never thought about it. But in Germany, when we landed there, we weren't really allowed amongst the populace, like like they had us like quarantined away from people.
Like when you were in Germany. Yeah, I know. We couldn't leave the base. It was bullshit.
You weren't allowed to go and explore. It was like, we're going to sit right the fuck here for 14 hours until our plane is ready to go to Tajikistan. And I was like,
is that where you went after Germany, Tajikistan? Or did you have a
we went straight to Afghanistan.
Really?
Yeah.
I flew to some Russian-looking country.
What did you fly in on helicopters at night, or how did you land?
We did plane from Germany. Yeah, plane from Germany.
And that was kind of wicked, to be honest with you, for me. I mean, it starts shooting off the flares once you get over the mountains, and because I went to Bagram. So
I went to Bagram. I think most everybody flies into Bagram.
Yeah.
But Bagram was the first base we took. According to that documentary, it was the first base we took, and we pushed south from there.
Yeah, I believe that is actually factual. It's huge, by the way. It's like
very big.
Yeah, and like from the map that I saw, there's like a mountain range on one end.
You're surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't remember the terrain so much around Bagram because, like, I just remember getting there and being flabbergasted with how large it was. There's like two airports.
Yeah, they took over like a city.
There's two.
And turned it into a military base.
There are two airports in this fucking base. It is wild.
Well, yeah, you got to have one for touch and one for go.
It is wild.
Very quick, too.
Wild.
Unless they were bringing in.
So you land in Bagram.
Yeah.
Via airplane. From there, where do you go? Or do you stay at Bagram your whole time?
We went to a small little camp inside of Bagram called CHRIS.
What's a CJ?
I don't remember what it stood for, but it was
was inside Bagram or near Bagram?
It was inside Bagram.
Oh, okay. So like
probably directionally, I can't figure out which way it would be, but
I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's been so long.
Yeah, I know. I went in 2013 to 2014.
Oh, no way. I was fucking piecing out of Bagram when 2012.
That's when I joined.
2011.
Okay.
I was leaving. No, 2012. Yeah, I was piecing out, dude.
I was in basic in 2012.
That's crazy, boy. That's crazy. So anyways, all right. So you get to CJ
So culture shock, right? On Bagram, is it the same as like when you were in Camp Fort Shark? Cop Shark. So like where like basically you had locals come in and help, or was it just like only Americans?
Yeah, we had locals. It was a culture shock. Is that right? Yeah.
Was there a call to prayer?
They did call to prayer 3 times a day.
Yeah. 3 times a day.
It was very cool. For me, it was ground shaking because for the most part we're a Christian country, and so you go there and they've got a whole different kind of discipline for their religious practice, and it got me very interested. And this is actually when things really opened up for me, like everything.
Well, I'm gonna stop you there. I think though America is founded primarily in Christian faith, or it was initially.
Everybody in America damn near goes to a Christian preschool. And
it was that way all the way up until like 1880 or 1890 or early 1900s, and then we did the separation of church and state. We were the same as all of those countries over there when our religion was embedded into our government, until we did separation of church and state, and then that was when we became a whole bunch of heathens, and we didn't take Christian holidays and all kinds of crazy shit.
To a degree.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, I still think that the U.S. is a largely Christian like not company, but like
Well,
Christian.
no, that's accurate. It's a company.
Yeah, but like
More or less,
largely.
That's accurate.
Lar-
That's accurate.
Largely, almost every person in America has Christian values as their core. Like I was saying, everybody our age group and younger went to like a Christian preschool.
I did go to a Christian preschool.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to hold your arms up in there and stand against the wall?
No.
Yeah, and like corners and
Get
just,
paddled
like,
in school,
weird
either of
stuff.
you?
No, I didn't get paddled in school.
I did.
No.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, first grade, 9/11 happened. I started drawing like 2 towers and airplanes on the top of all my school papers, and
Don't worry, he's going to therapy.
dog. I remember
Me too.
one time in 3rd grade, my dad had gone to jail for like the 2nd time, and there was like a school fundraiser, and I didn't do the fundraiser, and they were like, "Oh, you sold, you get to go out on the gym floor and get candy and money," and like I was like, "I didn't do the fundraiser." And they're like, "No, you get to go out," and I was like, "I didn't do the fun. Like this is just a charity
like,
case."
"Shut the
like,
fuck up.
like
You're
as
going."
like in 2nd grade, I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want charity. I'm good. Like
I like that. I like that about you, Tom. That's one of my favorite qualities. You said
Like I just stopped drawing towers on my paper at this new school. Leave me alone. I don't need the attention.
you said
And then I moved again to another school next year.
you said you go to therapy. You believe in therapy?
I like therapy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it matters about who you have, though. A lot of
agreed.
people.
And I just changed Brian's mind. I've changed you a lot in our years of friendship.
I'll have everyone in this room.
I'll take the credit.
I'll have everyone
Look,
in this room.
you get an hour to just talk about whatever is going on with you.
And you can say anything. Like that person.
Well, almost. Don't tell them you're going to kill someone.
Almost. If not, you'll end up at like Brentwood. No, for a fact.
That's
But,
happening
like, the nice part is like,
I concrete
Same.
blocked his feet and I put him in the river.
but like the nice part
Got
is
a plan.
like
Yeah.
you can talk
Gonna have
about
to
like
report
whatever
this.
insecurities or like shit you wouldn't say to your homies. You would feel insecure saying to your homies.
Right. There's no judgment.
And they don't have they're not in your friends circle.
Exactly.
It's not going to get out.
Hold
Yeah.
on. You're insinuating there are things that I would say to my therapist that I wouldn't say to you.
Maybe not necessarily, but I'm just saying like your group of friends. Like there's stuff that I would tell Lori that like I wouldn't tell.
Well, maybe
like,
maybe you have complaints
some
about Thomas that you don't want to directly speak to him about yet.
Your name hasn't come up yet, but I will let you know when it does.
Awesome.
But that's
no,
a good relationship.
I did.
Open,
I did just
communicative.
start therapy for my 4th time. 4th time. I'm on my 4th different therapist now in a dozen years, and it still sucks, dude.
It also takes a time to build that relationship.
Yeah, I know.
Again, it's hard
It
to
does.
build. It's hard to build a relationship when you only see the person for an hour every so often.
I'm going weekly, but I will say this. Just imagine for a moment, you live in the woods in the middle of this country that fucking hates you, and you have a gun everywhere you go, and everyone around you has a gun. And every now and then, often, you get in gunfights and people die around you. Whether you know what I mean, like
This is
so
the
you
Wild
go,
West. Was
so
the
you
Colt
go-
45 just
No.
invented?
It's called
Had
Two
Winston-
zigzags.
It's called Cop Chark Afghanistan, motherfucker. And when you leave that and come here, it's hard to download that type of information into a human being, unload that on them, and for them to A, compute it, B, not think I'm absolutely fucking
Well,
crazy.
that's like one thing that's crazy is like,
And then
from the
C-
tech world.
And then C, they have to give you corrective action
Right.
on like, hey, it's cool to have
also
homicidal thoughts.
think
You know
it's-
what I mean? Like,
It's funny though that like the brain is kind of like a hard drive. So like you have an SSD. Brian doesn't know tech, but he knows what the SSD hard drive is.
what's that?
The hard drive, we take all the videos and put them on. A flash drive, essentially. A hard drive.
Solid state drive.
Yeah.
They're different.
Yeah. But no matter, so like every podcast we do, we put it on this hard drive. But then, we delete the file and all that stuff. But that stuff still is low-key hidden deep in there, at least the file name or whatever. Even if you format it, like there's ways that people... But I think the brain kind of operates in that way. Like, yeah, you can reformat it and you can try to forget childhood trauma, time in Afghanistan, whatever. But like
the
it's
state of it is
still-
saved,
Right.
but it's buried.
Right.
And
Yeah.
nah.
While we're talking about therapy, though, so you're an advocate for therapy. You think it's
Yes.
a plus.
but I'm not an advocate of affirmation.
Explain that.
So I
I'm
don't.
not great with big words. Brother.
Okay.
You gotta slow it down.
Affirmations like compliments. You're doing
Oh,
a
okay.
great job.
If I was your therapist and you came in and you were like, I feel like I could do better here, and I'm like, no, you're fine the way you are.
Yeah, you're managing what you're
Just-
doing great.
Yeah. No, I like
Roger that.
my therapist to be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And he literally does that.
Okay.
I'll be like, hey, I had this great idea. And this is kind of how me and Thomas connected. We talked about
Thank you.
the ideas that are generated almost unwillingly. Some are great, some are not. But I become obsessed with the ideas that I have a lot of the time, and I will explore them and venture with them deeply. And then whenever I go and try to talk to people about it, I get the same reaction. But it's different when I get the reaction from my therapist, because this is a guy who works with people with mental health problems all the time. And so I'm like, got this idea. And he's like, yeah, but have you thought about, fixing this other problem first? Like he'll kind of call me out for things that need to happen and walk me through.
So your therapist is me for Tom.
Sure.
I see what's happening here.
Yeah, to a degree.
Tom does this shit exactly what you're describing all the time. All the time. He'll be like, hey, man, I got a crazy idea. We're going to build a carousel in the middle of the room. We're going to put a camera on there. We're going to record the podcast in 3 dimensions. We're going to make a 3D camera. I'm like, hold on, brother. We need another headset. Have you thought about that? We need to buy another headset. And you're like, but I got the drawing and the plan and the diagram. I'm like, bro, okay, sick,
yes.
But also...
Cool idea.
Yeah, 100%. We almost. I sent him a tank. I sent him a tank. I was like, dog, they are selling a tank in Tennessee. We need to go buy a tank and film the podcast in the tank.
That would be sick. Right. But yeah, I get it though. The headset needs to come first. And these are things that I'm working on too. I'll be both of you at the same time. Yeah, I want this carousel. Yeah, but I really need that headset.
All right, we'll buy the headset. Revisit the carousel.
Mm-hmm.
No, but yeah, for real. I think therapy's super gay.
Like I think.
But like I'm working on it.
Yeah, when you find the right, and there are different types of therapy too, but when you find the right person, you should be leaving pissed off. Like, fuck him. He don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And then process what he said and then try to work with it. And it's like, okay, maybe if I open up a little bit.
Dude, Perry had this concept of churches nowadays and like how people go and it's like a 3-step message and like people leave there feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, the whole point is to go to church and for them to break down your religion. And then for you to be like, I don't know. And then you leave and you think about it and then you're like, oh, you start figuring it out, piecing it back together. And it's like, he's like, that's what happened. Your Christ dies, your religion dies, God dies in this sermon.
He's pretty big on the God dies thing, huh?
Yeah, he's big on like
on death.
In order for God, in order for God to exist, God has to not exist. Like some of his concepts, like could go way, way out there. Perry's super cool.
It's not that wild to think about, though. I think that he has a really unique view, just in general, on just existentialism across the board, not just for humans, but on like a theatrical stage, like when he talks about religion, like you're saying, like for God to exist, God must have died, etc., etc. I think he has a really unique, he has a very unique brain. God, I want to talk to Perry again, dude.
Dude, it is.
We should just like go kick it.
Yeah, but it's crazy to like when you talk
dude.
with Perry, you do see the difference in like the average person, and then like that 1%, like the difference in like the way Perry thinks and like I think is like.
Yeah, he's way past me.
Right, and I feel like I'm coming up with crazy ideas that are super cool and like in depth or like all this stuff, and then it's like I'd have one conversation with Perry, and I'm like. No.
All right. Let's retract. Let's retract.
We need to get back.
Let's
on
go back to Afghanistan. So CJ
SOTF. Yeah. SOTF.
SOTF.
Well, no, I wanted to. You said you got there and it was a culture shock, and it opened your mind. So like, what's that experience like? Like you get there and you're like, oh shit, there is more to the world. Like I mean, yeah, we have TV and all that, but like you're
being in
another culture.
Being there is
call
different.
to prayers going, and somebody stops immediately and rolls out their rug and gets down and
yeah, the opening your mind. Can you expand on that a little bit? God,
yeah, okay.
That's a long-winded way to say that.
Like where people on base there with the Quran trying to like.
Well, that's okay. So I had never heard of the Quran. I had never heard of Islam. And so to me,
bro,
it was,
you grew up under a rock.
You grew up in Mount Vernon in Kansas.
I grew up in
What
Mount
do you
Vernon
expect?
doing hoodlum stuff. I didn't care about any of this.
That's valid.
You know,
I
I
can
was
attest.
I was making videos thinking I was going to be a YouTube star. I didn't care about any of that
That's
shit.
valid. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, I wasn't really that religious, but I believed in God. I was more afraid of being an atheist, more or less. Like I just felt like that was wrong. But I became one, and it was because of that. But I got really interested in the Quran, and so I started reading it, and I thought there was some really interesting stuff. But I'd really never read the Bible either. So then I start reading both, and
Pretty synonymous.
yeah, and it was
They're pretty
all
close to one another.
Some parts.
Dude, there's actually so many similarities in all of the religions, and I love that. There's obviously a lot of differences.
Christian, Judeo
differences.
What did you? What
Not
did you,
even.
What
The
did you call
Abrahamic
it?
faith.
Like in the Abrahamic faith, so Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, both
Not
Christian.
even. There's even overlapping things in Buddhism and Hinduism.
Yes, and
that,
Taoism.
you wouldn't even realize.
Sikhism.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of weird religions
But that's neat though. So now you're diving into both worlds, and so where do you go from there? I didn't mean to cut you off. So you're kind of reading the Bible one hand, and you're reading the Quran in the other.
yeah, it fucked me.
Attesting. It
And
fucked you? How?
It fucked up everything
How so?
because I became convinced that God did not exist.
Now, how do you gather that? Here, I just want to hear your thought process. How did you get to that, arrive at that point, given the information you were taking in?
I'm looking at what's going on in Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to me that it's nothing what the news has been telling us.
Like the opposite, yeah.
It seems exactly as it is quite literally the definition of occupation. That's what it seemed to me. These guys did not want us there. They've got a whole different culture, a whole different religion, a whole different tradition,
Set of values.
everything, and we're just there. And I had a lot of childhood trauma that had yet to be dealt with, and everything kind of just piled in on itself, and that anger, more or less, and spitefulness, impulsive behavior, all that just kind of came up, and I needed something to blame. And so I turned it into a disbelief in God and became obsessed with trying to prove the non-existence of God.
So the disbelief was like your way of filling that,
Trying to justify why bad things happen.
right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm gathering. I just couldn't piece the words
Right.
together.
Like a lot of people ponder like animals. Some people would say that animals are conscious but not conscious to a degree. And then like, why do animals suffer? Like if there's a God, why would animals have to suffer?
Yes.
And then on the same foot,
Why does anything have to suffer?
yeah.
But then, later on in life, I found meaning in that.
So what is the answer? Because I'm not.
Well, it depends on which group you subscribe to. There's certain
What is
groups
this,
of
a fucking
Christianity.
YouTube subscription?
No, but there's
dude,
certain there's certain groups.
Depends on what YouTube
Well,
channel
what's
you follow.
crazy? There's certain groups of Christians that believe
Podcast is sponsored by.
that believe that like Jesus dying on the cross, like in order for God to be all powerful, all whatever, and to set things right, nobody goes to hell. Hell doesn't exist because everybody, and if everything is to be set right and to be made perfect, and God is all powerful, then everybody should be saved. So really, it depends on what group you subscribe to. Like certain parts of like the Eastern culture, Hinduism, Taoism, stuff like that, they believe you reincarnate until you figure it out, and then you transcend.
Yeah.
So you didn't even let me ask my question.
That's like my pondering ground.
My question. Well, now I'm curious.
I've got
What's your answer to why, if God's a real thing, why do humans suffer? Why does this guy get a cancer diagnosis and he does his treatments, but he never gets cured? He still dies of cancer, and not even like in a glorious way, like in a painful, agonizing way, or dialysis. Dude's kidneys are shitting out on him. You know what I mean? He's fucking, and he just declines, dies. You know what I mean? Or a horrific, fucking, I don't know. People die in horrible, excruciating,
Yes, like
agonizing
children
ways.
with bone cancer. Like, what was that guy's name? Have you seen that?
But why does that have to happen?
Right.
In the eyes of faith.
Okay.
In the eyes of faith, and you can choose whatever faith you want, but what is the I've been so far removed from the church for so long. I don't know what the explanation is. What is the explanation?
In Islam, it's a test, and so seriously, so like they say that like everybody has their different tests. So like you may be a millionaire, and I may not have $1 million, but that $1 million and all the bad stuff that you do, all the drinking, all the whatever, like,
whoa, buddy.
But like, and then like me being a sick person, I don't go out and do that stuff.
Yeah.
So like, it's a test. Like, I may be dying, but if I stay true to my God, my religion, then that's my trial versus
really
somebody that's got everything, can buy everything and all that, and says, I don't need God. I have all this stuff.
Thoughts?
I think.
What do you think?
I think, and it's taken a long time to get to this point, and I still struggle with it, but I think we learn the most when we voluntarily put ourselves into the unknown, into the abyss. When you voluntarily look at what you can't see. Like suffering is something that we need in order to grow. So it's more or less,
it's like
you're a seed and suffering is the nutrients, right? And then your faith is the water. And so like you have to have faith in something that's above you, a set of values at least. And so for me, that's what is really the highest good, and truth is really big for me. So where in my life have I exaggerated or lied that I can bring truth out of, and how can I continue to do that going forward? So goodness and truth are big, and learning what those things mean, like, because they're kind of multidimensional, has to be learned through shit, like going through shit. But some things in life, like kids with bone cancer or cancer in general, or I know somebody who got struck by lightning twice. What the fuck? I don't understand.
Hold on, bro. We don't just glaze right over that. Hold on. Are they still alive?
Yeah.
Jesus. Fuck. Oh, my God.
3 times, I think.
Bastard.
Dude, some of the stuff's crazy. They say,
Oh, my God. Are they doing TED Talks? Because they should. Jeez.
I know 2 people, actually. Yeah.
I heard,
He got hit 3. He or she got hit 3 times?
I believe it was at least 2, but maybe 3. Yeah.
Holy shit. Maybe just stay indoors, big dog.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he spent his life working on septic tanks and excavation and stuff like that. So
crazy. Going back on this religious topic, though, I thought it was interesting. I saw an atheist going off on Facebook the other day talking about how it must be shitty to be a doctor and spending all this time in college, all this money and everything, and saving people's lives, and you don't get thanks. God gets thanks. Like that's got to be a weird feeling.
But
coming from somebody that was going to go into med school, I'd be curious of your thoughts of that. I mean, like, I almost feel like,
okay, well,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if you're going to go into med school, you're already owning up to the fact that you're looking at $180,000 in student debt minimum, bare minimum.
10 years of your life.
10 years of your life. So a lot of debt, a lot of time.
A curriculum that even after 10 years, you still have to learn. Every single day, it changes.
Continual education. But I'd be willing to bet that most people that go into med school aren't, let's not say most, I bet it's 50-50. Some genuinely want to help the patient. Some are money driven. And then maybe some are doing it because it's what their family does.
Maybe it's both.
That's probably a smaller fraction. Maybe the money people are family doctor type people.
And then like 10% are Indians that their family's like, you have to become a doctor.
But I really do. I genuinely think there's at least 30% of all students that go to med school, at least 30%, all students that go to med school are going because they genuinely care about human beings and they just want to help.
Well, actually,
or they're interested in just science and the science of the body and how they can help.
Yeah, I think all of that is correct. I did learn recently that I think they did a study on surgeons, and like generally speaking, they have psychopathic or sociopathic traits, but yet they make great doctors.
I think they have to, though.
Right. If you're going to cut people open all the time, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we don't need to get in the detail.
But look, my wife, careful here.
Dance the fine line.
Look,
or if you
We
don't
can
want-
always edit stuff
Look,
out.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
There's
so
always post-editing.
I do identify as Christian. My wife is Christian.
Sick, dude.
It is very complex for me, very complicated for me. I can't go to church and have the same kind of feeling that everybody else gets
She
during
might be
worship.
there for the music. You're there for the
She
message.
loves the worship. I generally like the message. I think
I'm
whatever.
the same way. I
But then
give a
I don't
fuck
like-
less about the songs. I want to come in for the message and leave.
Yes. But then there are people that, believe that they're going to go out and change the world by saying, accept Jesus or go to hell. And it's like, yeah, you can't do it that way. But with,
Not a strong message.
with the thanks thing, like, a doctor does his job. He studied for 12 years. He's in $200,000 of debt.
Yeah.
Saved his life because he knows what he's doing. And they're like, oh, thank God. Well, my wife will thank God for all kinds of things. Parking spots. I'm not kidding. She prays for a nice parking spot. She gets the parking spot, and I'm just left here like really?
Like if I
starving,
did that,
starving
there would be
kids
no-
in poverty somewhere, or like she'll pray away storms, and the storms
Okay.
will pass over.
Okay.
And then it's like, okay, well, and then you see the news, and 100 people died, and like 500 lost their house, and it's like, I just don't think God particularly is blessing us in that manner. I think that, and Jordan Peterson once said, God is not a celestial butler. That's kind of how I tackle my faith. I'm not looking for God to give me favors. I want to understand things at a level that matters going forward for myself, for my nuclear family, for my future self. When I imagine more or less an infinite amount of selves of me in the future, which ones do I want to extrapolate and make some sort of path towards, and so I need something higher than myself to kind of form this together. And so that's where the whole value set comes in. And I think there's a lot of great teachings in many different religious scriptures about this. A lot of them talk about seeking wisdom. A lot of them talk about being truthful. A lot of them talk about being selfless, and so on and so forth. And all of those things are so like profoundly applicable to your life that it's almost like, that's almost a miracle whenever you actually try to live your life that way. And then when you start to walk away from it, things start to become a little more chaotic. And it's just weird, like how all that connects. But that could be my subjective experience, really.
No, I agree, because it's interesting to see, like, one, like, I assume, like, the Christian values, then you go to, like, Afghanistan and you see that, like, the difference in religion, like, in Christianity in the West, God's grace and mercy saves us and all this. But then in Islam, you're God's slave.
Yes.
Like, and that's like a completely different dynamic between the two.
But even then with Christianity, I don't see how I think belief is action. I don't think that you can just walk around and say, I was baptized. I believe that Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and therefore, no matter what the hell I do on this planet, I'm going to heaven afterward. It's like, no, I don't fucking think so, my guy.
I don't think so.
You're not going to go out and raise kids and then get to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know what comes after. So there's a lot that's open to me.
Fascinating, isn't it? Hold on, I want to stop there. Just think about it for a moment. Everyone everyone in this room, everything that every person, dog, animal, whatever, they're all going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I get lost in this sometimes, and I'm not suicidal. I want to preface this with that.
So I think about this every day with my dog. I love my dog. I cuddle with my dog.
Bro, what is next? What is next? What does it look like? What happens? Like, I want to die to know.
Okay,
but again, not suicidal, folks.
Right.
Don't go calling the fucking authorities to my house. Like, totally healthy up here. I'm going to therapy. But, like, I'm not. That's not a joke.
I believe you.
Okay,
what is next?
Can I give you like something to talk to your therapist about?
Because take anything, dude.
All right,
Yeah.
so here's a really cool concept. You've heard of Schrodinger's cat, right?
Yeah, both dead and alive.
Okay, have you heard of quantum suicide? Okay, that is
quantum suicide.
That is where you put yourself in the box rather than the cat.
Okay.
The problem here now becomes you can't consciously be aware of you dead. So what happens is the reality that you observe is the one where you're alive. And then every time that happens, you would indefinitely see yourself being alive, but in alternate universes, you're dying over and over and over again.
This is the same as the microchip that I was talking to him about, quantum entanglement.
We need to take a pause on that.
Like a pee break?
No, I need to.
And so the point is, the point is
you're in real time.
If your consciousness is all connected to chemical reactions in your brain, and when your brain shuts down, then yeah, it's over. But if it's not, if it is more or less entangled with something higher than ourselves, then you can't really experience nothingness.
Can I stop? Hold on. Can I stop you? Because I'm not following the Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat means that if it's not being observed, it doesn't exist.
I've taken
it
more
exists
chemistry and physics.
I've taken more mushrooms than you. Okay, so
I understand Schrodinger's cat, but my question to you is: Are you saying that I am the Schrodinger cat right now, and I am only observing the eye that's open? And then when my consciousness is shut off, the cat is dead, i.e. I am dead? Like
he's
when
saying
I get
don't, from my understanding, it's basically you don't exist. And you're only basically having this experience through non-existence of...
Let me have him explain it. Let me have him explain it.
No, because that's like more of a solipsism.
Give me a...
And I don't like that. I think that's a dangerous idea.
Give me a slower walkthrough of your example, because I do want to understand this, and I do want to talk to my therapist about it for sure.
What I'm getting at is I don't think there is an end.
Okay.
But what it is, I don't know. And the only reason I think that is because of... And I gave that experiment, or whatever you want to call it, for a reason, because I think that consciousness seems to be connected through everything. And how? I don't know, but it seems to be. And so, even if you like personally
people,
just
like
go
between people, you mean it's connected
between anything and everything, like down at the quantum level.
Yeah, I like where you're going. Okay,
100%. Like. It seems as if things are connected across time always simultaneously. And I don't really know how to comprehend that, but to me it just seems that if that were true, then logically that would mean that your part of this connection would still exist.
And before you jump in, everyone's had one of these examples, and I want to throw this out there. It's funny that you mentioned consciousness and its ties like outside of itself. Everyone has had this at least once in their life. It's happened to me multiple times, usually most people multiple times. But like there are so many times I can remember in my life where like, man, it'd be crazy. Like I'll just be going about my day and I'll be thinking about a family member I haven't talked to in a month. I'm like, damn, I wonder how Lee's doing. Man, it'd be cool. I need to remember to call him later. And then literally
you get a call.
Yeah, Rogan had that lady on about telepathy tapes that was talking about that.
It's so weird, but it happens. Like, oh, your ears were burning. Somebody was talking about you.
Well,
but in a weird way, though, there is like the unseen eye, the unheard ear. Like this.
Yeah, but my rebuke to this would be anesthesia.
Okay.
What?
Okay. No, I see where you're going.
Anesthesia turns your consciousness off.
Or propofol.
Yeah, same thing. Anesthesia, yeah.
But like at the same point in time, like, you snap back and you're in the same body, same place, similar thoughts.
What point are you trying to make here?
Just that like consciousness can be turned off and turned back on.
So
to a degree, in a weird way.
However, but we can agree that you come back.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm there.
Which I think is a good argument against solipsism. Because
what is solipsism?
It's like the belief that everything is conjured up in your mind. So I'm not real, he's not real, none of this. It's only here whenever you want it to be.
I've thought
about that too. Like
well, I think it's dangerous, man. I think it'll drive you insane.
Different whatever. And that's where some people are like, treat everybody as yourself. Like there's God in everyone. And so like you got to treat everybody with that.
Even in physics, they know, astrophysicists figured out, and you might already know this, that during supernovas, when stars die and explode, that these reactions at a molecular level happen that create hydrogen and nitrogen and oxygen, and they bond together, and so on and so forth, and eventually we got life. So we have this interconnectedness with the universe itself, and yet we don't understand exactly what the universe is or how big it is.
And I agree with this, and like the proofs of that would be like, to me anyways, the the like proofs of that would be like the way the moon affects not only tides but like some female cycles, or like how the weather can affect your emotions.
This one is weird to me. I can't wrap my mind around it. My sister works in the medical field, and she says that everybody will agree with her that full moons cause more people. And I don't understand
my wife
how.
Works in the fucking ICU.
I don't understand
She's
it.
heard the same thing from her buddies down in the ER.
We want to take a pee break and make this a long one.
Yeah. I don't have to pee. Oh, you have to pee?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick pee break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
As you were saying earlier in the episode, talking about like these people that like take certain parts or whatever, and like I noticed you were quoting like Jesus earlier, like my grandpa, when I talked to him about the principles of Christianity, he's like, I only believe in the red letters of Jesus. Like I was asking him like, how has your faith evolved through your lifetime? And his response was, well, the red letters of Jesus has never changed.
And those are the words he spoke.
Well,
right?
to a degree. I mean, if there's New Testament scholars that debate this, but I was going to say that like your point earlier made me think of like when I'm diving deeper into these religions and like these people that took value, these deep thinkers of these religions, I normally end up studying more of the mystics of the religion than the religion itself.
Well,
like instead of reading the Quran, I'm like reading Rumi. And like then there's like Christian mystics and like Saraguru, who's like, you know, so like I feel like the mystics of the religion give you like a more in-depth breakdown.
Have you read any of the Gnostic Gospels?
Like the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Judas?
Yeah.
Are those like the non-canon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Non-canonized?
The Gospel of Thomas is supposedly supposed to just be quotes
It's just
of Jesus.
quotes of Jesus. It's like 131 just quotes of Jesus.
And it's honestly
Dude, just
phenomenal.
The hits, dude?
Just the hits.
Just
dog.
the hits?
All red letters. But
Literally, like the first 10 verses are, I mean, they're relatable to what's canonical, but to me, canonical.
Oh, canonical. Sorry, I was like,
Sorry, I probably had a.
no, you're good. You're good. But yeah, I'm tracking.
like they would pass the Hadith test.
Well, one of the things that gets me is like everybody's always obsessed with afterlife. I'm going here or here, but Jesus says even in the canonical that heaven is within your midst. It's within you. The kingdom is within you. It's also outside of you. And I've always liked that because psychologically speaking, when you are about to do something, you're about to make a choice, and you might get that little voice in your head that says, man, this is probably a bad idea, but you do it anyways. And then you start to see, at least to some degree, things kind of spiral out of control.
It's like when you have a bad day, you wake up in a bad mood and that bad day snowballs.
And so if you choose to be more optimistic about it and try to find the good in it, and then, you know, form your day, if you will, around that idea, then you kind of merge back over into the midst of heaven rather than the midst of hell. And I think psychologically that fits really well. Like, if you were to go out and shoot somebody in the head after this podcast,
I like violence.
Okay, like just randomly, you're just like, oh, fuck you, whatever. You shoot them in the head.
Nice. Now you're talking my speed.
All right.
Okay.
Minutes, hours, days, weeks, months go by.
Right.
All of that time is going to be a spiral downwards, regardless.
so?
As long as you're not a psychopath. I mean, if you've got emotions, if this person was a random person, you didn't know them.
Okay.
Right? If this person was trying to harm somebody
Not
you
a bad-
love,
not
that's
a bad
different.
guy.
That's
Okay.
different.
Not a bad guy. Just a human being on
Just random person walking down the street having a good day, not having a good day, whatever the case may be, you just fucking pop him in the head, no reason, just impulse.
That's different. I don't find
Right.
that exciting at all.
Okay, well, but you do it.
Still kind of exciting, but not that exciting.
There's judgment, punishment
right, yeah.
amongst yourself, psychologically.
Yeah, internal dialogue.
Right.
That will then
And you're at that moment in the midst of hell. And that's the way I see it. But if you were to go up and say, hey man, how's your day? And he's like, oh, it's not really going that well. I just, ran out of gas and I ain't got no money. And you're like, here's, $20. And then later on you find out, he was able to get to work and got a promotion and whatever, then you're going to feel good about that. And that might be just a little hint of the midst of heaven.
See,
Do you see what I'm kind of getting at?
Yeah, Brian claims to be Catholic too, and so like I like to throw in.
No. I began my childhood in the Catholic Church.
Gotcha.
I have said that on the show.
But I like to throw these things out. Like Brian didn't know that like technically Jesus had siblings. You know, like Brian didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Like, some sects, you know, maybe like clarify that. But like Thomas means twin back in that time.
Oh, does it?
Like it said Thomas the whatever it was, but like it meant Thomas the twin. And so like people think that like he either some people believe that he was either Jesus' twin or not Jesus' twin, which makes a whole crazy concept to the, you know,
speculation.
But also like some people believe that like Thomas went to India.
Yeah.
So like some people think Jesus went to India, some people think Thomas went to India afterwards and like took the same message, but you know, or Jesus actually went to India. It's like crazy to think about. But then in the non-canonical stuff, there's also the Gospel of Judas.
Mm-hmm.
You ever heard of this?
Slightly familiar.
Some of these non-canonicals are written by not the person, but a story about the person under like the alias of said person.
There's only one that I'm familiar with, and I'm struggling to. I know the Book of Judas. It sounds familiar, but
basically, the Book of Judas is that like Jesus told Judas to turn him into the authorities in order for him to die on the cross.
That's such a fun debate too.
Yeah, I still don't like it, guy.
Like,
I still don't like Judas. I go on the.
I don't know.
I'm going on the fence.
I don't know, because like if you think about it, like
a bag of silver.
He handpicked the 12 disciples. You're gonna tell me God made a bad pick? And
no, you ain't
didn't know the message, didn't know the point, didn't know the whatever. And then it's crazy as they fill in Paul, which I think Paul completely changed Christianity. I think Paul corrupted Christianity. And Paul used to be my favorite person of Christianity.
I might get in trouble, but I almost agree. I don't know how I feel about Paul. And most of the New Testament is Paul.
Right.
Yeah. And
he wrote over half
it's very difficult. I struggle a lot with Revelations.
Which they presume was John, right, that wrote Revelations?
They presume, yeah. Which by then he would have been like 120 years old or some shit.
And was secluded on an island.
Right.
In exile.
So,
hey, man, back in those times, that was common.
Yeah, apparently. But if you think about all the crazy shit like somebody close to our time in exile, like Napoleon did, you know, like I feel like exile is not necessarily the greatest thing ever. Like, but at the same point in time, exile is a good thing in some of the stories of the Bible and everything along those lines.
Well,
like
it's common.
Yeah.
That's
like
typically when
Moses
you have
goes
your
into the mountains
encounters.
And gets his revelation. Moses goes out into the wilderness, experiences the burning bush. Muhammad goes up into the caves and gets the Quran. Jesus goes into the wilderness or the desert for 40 days. Like there's so many of these references of Jonah gets eaten by a whale for 3 days. You know, like there's so many references of this solitude, like taking,
like it's darkness.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's difficult. Something about it is pushing your limits, and you're alone. And I actually had a very similar experience, which is what brought me to God, which wasn't the Christian God at first. I didn't know what it was. I just knew at that point I wasn't an atheist anymore because something came over me that was profound and unexplainable. And it cured me.
Do you want to talk about that moment? Or is that, if I'm reaching, you just tell me to shut the fuck up? And
no. So in 2020, I went homeless again, but for a different reason. And I won't get into the details. It was horrific and terrible. And I think psychologically I was punishing myself without knowing it. But everything I ate was toxic. And I'm a skinny guy as it is. But I got down to 109 pounds after about 5 months. And
we discussed earlier, you are 6'2", so that's a very light weight for you, sir.
Yes, I would be dead, I think.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make light.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
But nothing, I couldn't see no doctors. It was COVID. And I discovered Ram Dass and really liked him. I really liked the things that he was saying, and I tried out this meditation thing. And long story short, I had this crazy, like almost realization of this duality of nature and concepts of time and weird stuff. And then I started practicing this stuff more, and all of the the issues I was having went away, and I was like excelling at everything, getting better at everything. But then my friend tripped acid, and he was like, because I was interested in trying psychedelics. I hadn't tried them before.
Oh, fucking who hasn't?
Still
dude?
has. I still haven't.
You still haven't?
Nope.
Oh, you haven't lived, brother.
Well, I'm afraid to.
Well, okay.
Because I've lost my mind.
Lost.
Well,
That's fair,
and
that's
this
fair.
goes back to the VA as well, screwing
That's
me
fair.
over. So I can get to that in a minute. But later on, I discovered Jordan Peterson, and I started watching his biblical
Like breakdowns, analysis,
lectures and whatnot, and he's applying nothing but a psychological perspective to it. And before that, I had hated pretty much any scripture, and now it's making sense to me, and so on and so forth.
A lot of Christians don't
But it was that same kind of
buy Peterson. Just for the record.
No, a lot do.
now.
Now that
I mean, he
now that
claims
he's
to be
written this,
We who wrestle with God.
who wrestle with God.
You know that he like basically admitted more or less that
Yeah, he did like here recently.
because
He
some
said
guy
he's
was
Christian.
well, some guy
Well,
said, "So
normally-
do you believe that Jesus was?" And then Peterson interrupts him and says, "God." He goes, "Yeah." In fact, if you understand that, it's I'll fuck up his words, but that's when I saw that I was like, "Whoa," because I've been watching him for years.
And he used to say like, "I live my life in a way that
I act as if God exists." And now it's like he's more or less claiming that Jesus was God. But I don't think he's claiming it in the same way that other Christians do.
I don't think so either. I think he comes at it.
He's way too complex.
Yeah, he comes at it from a far more analytical, computative
Yep.
state, and he also has a background story that would, I mean, honestly, almost seem biblical. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was raised very rough in the tundra of Canada. You know what I mean? Like, I know a little bit of his backstory, but like, he was not raised in the best situations. But like, a few years ago, a lot of Christians did not buy Peterson. And I think now we're getting to the point to where it's like 50-50. I don't know. He just seems very scientific about religion when it can't be so analytical, when the whole point of the game is you don't know. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. You don't know, you just hope. That's the name of the game. Believe, and then therein lies. You know what I mean? And if thou chooses not to believe, then therein does not lie.
Yeah, well, it is all
I
confusing.
think it's that simple. And in most religions, it's that way. Believe in Allah, and therein lies, and do not believe in Allah, and therein lies nothing. I think. I don't know. Am I stepping off base? Am I reaching too far?
I don't know. It's all complex. Yeah, in every one it's complex because like in Islam there's people, they believe that like there's people that will go to hell, but due to their prayer and certain things like that, they'll only experience hell for a period of time.
What the fuck? What? Yeah, we're sending you down there for a fiscal quarter. You can come back after. What kind of?
Well, no, I think it's similar in Christianity.
What?
Seriously? Isn't it?
It depends on your sect. Some people believe like I mean,
What-
think about purgatory as it's defined. Purgatory is essentially a middle ground, so it's a holding place. So it's separation from God.
Yeah,
So like in essence,
Correct me.
which can be now.
Catholics believe in purgatory, Noy?
right?
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Christians do not believe in
Depends
purgatory.
on the sect of
Like
Christianity.
Pentecostal and Methodist.
Some,
yeah,
like
they're-
Southern Baptists, I think maybe do. But yeah, most Christians do not believe in purgatory. But does Judaism believe in purgatory?
I don't
know.
Don't know what technicalities Judaism.
I know Islam
believes in.
does. Islam believes
Well,
in purgatory because
To a degree. I don't necessarily know if they believe in purgatory as a whole, but they have certain aspects that I really like. That like, my grandma, if somebody dies, my grandma at the funeral will stay there until they're in the ground and like started the dirt process, putting dirt on. And so like I didn't know this until the last few years, so I started staying with her for these experiences. And then I started to question my faith, started getting interested in it, started looking up all these other religions. I went to the mosque a few times, And what's interesting is in Islam, they believe that the soul is still with the body until the last family member leaves the grave. And then it transcends.
I don't know what to think about that.
They also believe that when you die, you should be buried. I'm not digging. I'm not making a dig at Islam. I'm just pointing out a fact that they believe the day you die, like midnight and after, so like midnight 01, you need to be buried before midnight the next day. You need to be buried within that day, or Allah will. I believe.
I don't know.
This is what they told us while we were over there, because we'd kill a guy, we'd kill a bad guy, and we'd be mad because we couldn't do our forensics. You know, we'd drag the body.
It had such a fast overturn.
We would drag the body all the way back to the camp and do our forensics, the thumbprints and the eye scan and all the fucking bodily fluid bullshit, and we would drag him all the way back to the camp, and that's like a 4-hour process in itself. And then we get him there, and the whole family is knocking on our doorstep the moment we get back, and they're like, "Hey, you killed our son. He's got to be buried, like right now." It may even be before sundown of the same day, but it's like a thing, and I don't know. But
Well, they also don't have the luxury of preserving the body for a proper funeral, I would suppose.
You're going to assume a certain amount of degradation.
Well, I know some people don't believe in cremation.
Well, look, when I die, I just want to be wrapped in a sheet and thrown in the ground. I've made that clear in my will.
So, I don't know that
which you can't do in certain states.
I don't care.
Can you just say I don't give a fuck?
That's what I'm saying.
Viking funerals are legal in Maine now. I'm thinking.
How does that work? Isn't that where they like shoot a
They
fire?
put you on a raft and they put some explosives and some fireworks on you, and
some jet fuel,
and then they some JP8, some jet fuel, and then they shoot a bow and arrow at your raft, and it catches you on fire, and then you catch on fire, and you sink to the fucking bottom. Why is that? Why? And I bet you still got to pay out the ass to do one of those.
So, like, on this journey, have you looked into like what is some of like, so like you like to think, so like what are some of like people you've really looked into? Like you mentioned Rim Doss.
I don't know that I know who that is, by the way.
Okay,
just so I'm totally transparent. I don't want to pretend like
his name was his name was Dr. Richard Alpert, and he actually worked closely with Timothy Leary. You know who that is, right?
No, sir.
Okay, he was like the leader of the tune in, tune out 80s acid, like all that good stuff. Like the hippie age, he was the one that kind of brought that to fruition. Like, hey, everybody trip balls and have a good time.
I'm here for it.
And he got him into psilocybin, and before he was Ram Dass, he I guess he'd be Dr. Alpert's or whatever. He loved it, and he felt like he had a real connection with the divine, and every time it wore off, it pissed him off, and so he just would continually get high, and eventually it wasn't enough, so he ran off to India and sat with a guru. His name was Maharaji, and he's a very interesting person to learn about, like extremely interesting. But regardless, did all his time there, got his new name as Ram Dass, came back and did public speeches. And if you just sit and listen to the things he says, like...
It's like Alan Watts.
Mm-hmm.
Deep shit.
Yeah. Similar.
Alan Watts is a goat.
Yeah.
Very shout out to episode 2 of the Days Grimm.
Yeah, one of the very first ones.
We did a whole episode on Alan Watts. I feel like you're trying to get near the end here.
Not necessarily.
I just have a quick question. Yeah, I'm enjoying this greatly. What is one of the most, for you, internal perplexive thoughts that you've ever had?
I feel like that's too much.
Well, like, what is a thought that you've had that has caused you the most anxiety? You know what I mean? Like, what is one of the, because you're a deep thinker, you've explored multiple religions, we've talked about death and what happens, and you've had your thoughts on that, and like, what is there another thought or another realm, or I mean, it could be science, it could be this, it could be that, it could be anything, but is there anything that like we haven't covered tonight that has like kept you awake at night, or like not let you even fall asleep? You know what I mean? Like, I'd be interested to know what that is.
So much.
What's your best one?
I sleep just fine, by the way.
Okay, nice, dude. I don't.
I go right to sleep, and I sleep. But
I mean, is there something that like really
I don't know
bothers you that
I've been
want
exploring
the answer to that you don't have?
Yeah, I mean,
Quantum entanglement. I don't know anything. Like
yeah, like I feel like the more I explore things, the more I start to not know even more. Like it's just there's a door and you open it, and then there's 2 more doors and you choose one, and then there's 3 doors, and it just kind of seems like a rabbit hole. You don't know what was behind the
door that you just passed.
You don't know how to get back.
Yeah.
But like that's quite specific, and I don't know if I have.
That was an alarming question. I threw a lot at you at once. I'm so sorry.
I think one of the things that gets me the most is what pisses me off the most is we'll go that route, I guess.
I like this.
I
like anger. Here we go. Loading up the pitch.
You make plans for certain things to go a certain way, and I swear it almost never does. And so it becomes more and more complicated to try and determine what your future is going to look like. And in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, especially the further you get out, because like it's almost demotivating. I don't even know if that's a word, but like
I think it is.
Because so many times, and I know that you understand this, when I have an idea that I want to explore and I learn about it and I go after it and then it doesn't happen, something gets in the way. And then it's like a whole nother dynamic comes into play. And so I struggle with this whole free will predetermined
And then
deal.
3 years, 5 years, 8 years later, somebody on Joe Rogan's talking about the same concept that you had.
Basically. But it's like, if you want...
Back to that connected consciousness. If you don't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah.
That like idea of like, the idea comes to you and you don't bring it to fruition.
Well, it's more for me like, do I actually have the will and the choice to go a certain direction, or is it laid out? Because it seems like a lot of things do happen for a reason. There are things that are happening in my life now that 2 years ago I would have rather shot myself in the head than do. And I'm actually enjoying it. And that kind of radical change, which has a good drive behind it, still baffles me, because I'm just like, why couldn't it have just gone the way I wanted it to go? You know?
Yeah.
And so that might be the answer to your question.
So it's interesting.
Because what's going to happen in another year?
There's a
from now?
facet here. You had mentioned it in your explanation of your thought. The predestination of things. Is that a thing? So do you believe in multi-universes?
I do.
Do you entertain at least the possibility of that? Right?
Very much.
So if you do, right? I feel like
it did happen.
It did. And then also, but you know what I mean? Like it doesn't negate predestination, but it supersedes it in a way to where, like, when a decision is to be made, it can go one way or the other. You know, I mean, I can sell my house and live in a ditch and empty everything I have on this fucking idea, and it'll come to fruition, or it won't. That's a different time and measure. Or, you know, I can let this one little hurdle stop me. And in your case, yeah, this little hurdle stopped me, and I went this way and tended to my things. In another universe, you sold everything you had and you went to that ditch. And then, you know what I mean? In that universe, you came to the point to where you emptied your tank and you were like, it can only go this way and it can only go that way. I can only fail or I can only succeed.
Yeah.
And then that person failed. But then in another fucking universe, you know, they succeeded.
I like this idea of the multiple universes and the Christianity aspect of, like, I feel like when I die and if there is a heaven and I go there, God's going to show me what I could have been like, and where I fell
think
short, and that's the like alternative timeline.
Okay,
I
David
see.
Goggins, relax over here, dude.
Like I could have carried the boats, but I didn't. You know?
Well, I think for me that fills a gap in the all-knowing aspect of God, because how is it that I can have free will, but you also know exactly what I'm going to do? I think it makes more sense if every possibility is there to be played out in parallel universes, and God knows all of the
He
possibilities.
just gives it to you, but it's not.
And then he kind of just watches what you choose. But then at the same time directs it. But how the hell does that work? So I still hit a roadblock, but at least that first part is like, how can you know exactly what's going to happen with my life if I'm supposed to have the free will to choose it? To me, it would only make sense if it branches off infinitely.
Well, what's crazy is we don't understand time either.
Hold on. Yo.
Kind of.
Hear me out. What if, thought experiment, God is a total empath, right? Which he is. All right. So God's a total empath. And then he's looking down on Brian Day, and he comes to this, a fork in the road, a Y in the road. And Brian really wants to go this way for success, and, to move forward. And then there's also failure over here, but also there's some good things that come with failure. There's learning, there's different opportunities, there's all this other shit. And God doesn't want to take that away from you, but God also doesn't want to give you what you don't want. So what if in that moment, like the moment I hit that Y intersection, God's little hands he's probably got big hands. God's large hands. I don't know. He probably wears like a ring size 14. And then God's giant meaty sausage fingers come down, and then he splits that universe. He splits the universe right there.
Right.
What if the multi-universe theory is because of God?
He just wants you to have all the choices.
Fun fact.
Well, I feel like that would be... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, fun fact about me, my favorite movie quote of all time is from The Notebook. A lot of my close friends know that The Notebook is one of my favorite movies of all time. And the protagonist says, science only goes so far, and then there's God. I stand on that.
What's crazy is
what are your thoughts on
science is here because of God. So the modern day science came from
Yeah,
Islam,
dude.
and like the Islamic studies and sciences. And
Big
everything
shoots, dude. Big shoots to the Izzies, dude.
God gave us dominion over the earth, and
Yeah.
I think that's easily can branch out to, he gave us the ability and the intellect to build or discover at least the tools necessary to discover other things scientifically. A lot of things can be just broken down into information to us.
Which we can now go into the AI conversation.
What if we had knowledge? What if we were given knowledge?
We were given knowledge.
No. Hear me out. What if we
knowledge of good and evil?
When the before the book was written, what if we were given knowledge to the disciples, or even to Adam and Eve? What if they were given the knowledge of like, hey, you can do this or you can do that, but just know you're going to get both. You may not see. What if God had told us, and it's just not transcribed properly because we humans, especially back then, were dumb as hell. And we can't understand the concept of like multiple universes. So that being said, what if we've known this whole time, or have been being told this?
Well,
because
technically we're separated from God, but yet we're with God.
Yeah, simultaneously.
You guys think God's making multiple universes out here?
I mean, multiple universes could be a possibility in the aspect of like, when I think about it as a whole, I think that when I get there, there'll be a highlight reel.
I'm here for it. I've never thought about it in this way, but now I'm thinking, I've always believed in multiverses. I'm thinking it's God's fault. I'm here for it.
But I wonder though, like,
I like it.
We get into the AI aspect, and then you take like the religious view, and like you have the Tower of Babel, where people tried to build a tower to heaven.
Yeah.
And then now we have AI and rockets that we're launching into the heavens.
Yep. This is that.
but like essentially, you know what I mean? Like we are now bringing back things that don't exist anymore. We are playing God on multiple levels.
Sure, in some aspect. But then again,
wrong for it. Are we wrong for it?
I don't think so.
That's where it boils down.
I don't
we're
think
created
so.
We're created in God's image. So we're created to create.
And we'll learn from our mistakes.
We would. So let's say you bring back an invasive species, let's just say Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it kills half your country. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Well,
North America's gone. You still have the other countries. You know what I mean? Like,
That goes back to my argument about why we suffer, why we encounter malevolence and evil. It's like it's necessary so that we can learn and move on to the next step. Like,
so you're not against the genetic engineering and CRISPR and all that stuff?
what if that's God's mission?
well, that's okay. So I have this idea that there is an ultimate good that even when things are bad, it's good. Like,
I don't know. I'm
because eventually, okay, I know it's so like,
listen, kids, heroin's not great.
no, but
I want to throw that out there.
But you do have.
But
pain.
if somebody, if somebody unfortunately or fortunately goes down the path of becoming a heroin addict and lives, and then they end
I
up,
see where you're at.
yes, they end up in prison or not in prison or whatever.
Then
but
they
they
wind
come
up to
out
be
of it,
Jelly Roll, and now they're influencing
whoever,
half,
exactly,
half of the country.
right. And we have plenty of people like that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
That are on the mic, like, I used to, be a fuck up, now I'm not, and, you can listen or not listen.
No, but I see where you're at, though.
But I think for us as individuals, it's incredibly important, individuals and collectively. So in your personal life, it's important that you fucked up in this one area of your life because now later it's going to set you up for success. Collectively, if we really fuck this up, like AI or even what's going on worldwide with
Have you ever
the
read
debt and the economies and everything that's going on, like if it really blows up in our face,
You read any?
the survivors will know what not to do.
Would they?
I would hope so.
Dude, Isaac Asimov wrote this series, The New Foundation, brother. It will fuck you up.
What is it called?
The New don't quote. I think it's The New Foundation. iRobot was a part of the series, but essentially, these robots were this AI intelligence was created way back when, and then man invested and man built, and then got the AI to perform the way it wanted to, and then they wanted it to self-improve, and then they wanted it to self-correct, and then man wanted it to be.
Yeah, but we get
autonomous.
these ideas from everything around us. Man wanted to fly. Where did we get that idea from? Stuff flying around us.
But the point is, the robots fucking killed all the humans, bro.
Yeah.
So most.
Have you guys seen Black Mirror?
yeah.
Yeah,
You seen the new season?
Wild. I didn't love the new season.
Okay, but do you know that episode where have you seen it?
I did
Yeah.
see. The
Okay,
new
so
Black
I guess
Mirror.
I shouldn't say too much for the viewers, but
That
that episode where the old
it's a spoiler
Like a
alert.
disclaimer.
Okay.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I won't say much, but the episode with the older guy who was given that video game by his boss that wasn't a video game. It was Intelligent Life.
Oh, the little what they call them? They had names for the characters.
Yeah, and he was
Squirrels or
tripping
something?
shrooms to understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
You know what happened in the end, right? You remember? I won't say it.
The guy was
You won't-
apprehended by the authorities. Is how the show starts and ends, if I'm not mistaken. I do remember what happens at the end. Yeah.
and the way he explains it, and then how it all plays
I
out.
don't remember how he explained it, but basically, yeah, I remember again, I wasn't impressed with the new season. Did you see it?
I was.
I really liked Twilight Zone, so I really enjoy Black Mirror.
Okay. Did you see the newest season?
And I've told you I've wanted to make a series of like short films that just have like just crazy mind whatever. Like,
Yeah.
did this happen here? What if this there? So like that's my cup of tea.
Okay, I get it. But I don't remember exactly how he explained it, but I do remember what happens at the end, and it's extremely violent.
I was building on what you were saying about the book, I think, or
The iRobot based book.
Yeah, basically the book iRobot is a series of like 3 books. There's like the Foundation, iRobot, the New Foundation, and it's all like how AI and these human servants came to be and what all happens. But basically they gain cognition and they become self-serving.
Yeah, but first we have to crack power And once we crack power, then the entire state of the world changes.
I don't know.
I
think
I'm with you. I don't think it matters.
I think once quantum computing becomes
Now, granted, there might be a new source of power needed to achieve full true
nuclear
quantum.
fusion has been perfected.
It's
not perfected, but they've got more energy out than they put in.
So quantum
in time,
computing can only take place in sub-0 degree temperatures, essentially.
For now.
For now, to keep it cool. We're not allowed in Antarctica, so it's probably going to build a hub in Antarctica that everything knowledge base-wise flows to and goes out from there. So, like, I assume Antarctica would be the hub. Like, if you really think about it, like, if a new world order, if all the other religions were to be right and, like, the world were to break out and, like, a face value, you know, like, I crack a J joke, my social credit score goes down, I can't buy milk this week.
Yeah, that better not fucking happen here.
But, like, what's crazy, though, is, like, those systems can easily be implemented through AI, CCTV. Yeah. Like, all these things are already here. And, like, once power is cracked and power becomes free, essentially, not power in a form of energy becomes free, the whole world dynamic shifts. Then you get a social income.
But it won't be ever because of our old world ways. We are too.
The world's changing. That the Kanye's new song HH. No, seriously. Jordan Paggio. Have you ever watched any of Jordan Paggio?
Is that
it's
PAGIO?
PAGUE or UA, but he's in the Peterson group of things, but his big thing is like symbolic and meaning and everything like that.
I didn't know his name was Jordan too. I thought it was something else.
But I know Jonathan Paggio.
Yeah, John Paggio.
Yeah,
Jonathan
so like
Paggio.
Basically he was talking about like our world right now is built on this World War II outcome and the world formation out of it. But like the swastika before Hitler was good and has been good since it was created pre-biblical times.
That's why he chose it.
But yes, but I'm saying that symbol was good for thousands of years. And then in a series of 10 years, that corrupts the symbol for the whole lifetime of the symbol. No, that symbol is going to swing back in a pendulum. So like this worldview is going to shift. I keep saying you got this new guy that's claiming to be a prophet right now in the Middle East that's like claiming to try to bridge the Abrahamic faith together. I do think that you are going to see a new world religion based on what we were talking about, the similarities of world religions and all that overlap. You're just going to have to find the right people to do that. And then boom, new world religion, this new AI system kicks on, and from there. That's what I worry about. Are my kids going to get plugged in and not experience death?
No, it's beyond them. It's their kids' at this point.
I don't think it's their kids. I don't think so. When we were kids, the state of advancement was 10 years in 1 year. By the time it was to us, what they were doing back when they were building planes, what would have taken them 10 years to build in planes, we're now doing every single year on top of each other.
And some things hypothetical are happening daily. But so like the reason I got out of programming was when I discovered ChatGPT 3.5. It was still pretty early. And I watched it generate code that worked 60% of the time, I'd say.
Yeah, and you just have to edit here and there.
Well, and it was very helpful. But I realized at that point that this technology can get better. It will get better. And my job will become obsolete. I don't know if it's becoming obsolete yet, but I do know that I can get on my phone. I can go to Replit or I can go to any of these other apps and I can say, create me an app, because that's what I mostly did, was apps and websites that does this, and it will do it. And almost all of the time, it works very well, and it's very cheap. When I would develop something for somebody, which was only for a very brief moment in my life, I could charge upwards of $50,000 for a website. And I never got that. But just saying, companies for sure, like big companies, even domain names are expensive, depending on what kind of name they're looking for. But websites and mobile apps, it was a very huge field of money. And even just getting a job as a programmer, you could start around $80,000 to $100,000 a year back in 2010, 2015, and probably earlier, of course. But now you're seeing massive layoffs in the technology field because they're bringing in AI.
I would even add to that and say not outside of the technology world. Like, I mean, you're seeing layoffs in
Yes.
Yeah, but to a degree. But
across-
like, I got a buddy
Well,
that
think
knows
about it.
technology that got a government job that literally he just wrote several algorithms that run programs that basically sort and condense the information they need. And like, he works for his local municipalities and
But I'm
basically like does
willing
that
to
and puts
bet that he used AI to help him generate that.
Not then, but I'm thinking on the aspect of now, like he's not really
I know.
needed.
So my father-in-law owns a software development company. Well, he's now the CEO. He co-founded it, I believe. Everybody on his team, supposedly, if I remember correctly, uses Claude or ChatGPT.
And what's crazy is
Claude is really good, by the way.
And DeepSeek changed the game. Like you were talking about how it was
I've not
cheap.
really messed with
Now,
DeepSeek.
well, DeepSeek just changed the game in the fact that it made it cheaper. And it used other learning or large language models to train itself.
Mhm.
So like it basically does everything cheaper and trains itself like basically on rinse and repeat.
autocorrect. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how it started out, more or less. Just
But
like a autocorrect on.
We are
steroids.
seeing like a large, like Saudi companies that are operating in the U.S. They're making
They just bought Pokemon Go.
Did
they're
they?
making huge cuts. And if you don't believe me, check in with.
No, I believe you. I see it every day.
Check in with our folks out at AstraZeneca. Check in with our folks over here that are owned by the English, Reckitt and Binkheiser, Me Johnson. Check in with our folks over here at Berry Plastics. I mean,
Well, that's
jobs are literally being cut daily.
That's
I mean,
why-
by the
But you know what's
hundreds.
crazy to me though is it's the artists that come up with these ideas. Cell phones, Star Trek. Like you think AI, Tony Stark. Like would we have AI today if we didn't see Jarvis back then? We had Siri, but like I mean,
well, they've been working on machine learning since computers became a thing.
Yeah, since
Right.
like the 60s.
Yeah,
I mean, because
but they didn't have the data. And that was, or the understanding, but more or less the data was the issue.
and
Once-
now
once
they
the data
comb
came,
everybody's data so
Then
they can,
it got really good. But then somebody just randomly posted this article called "Attention is All You Need," and it described this whole new model, which is the large language model, which it's a transformer model, and I can't explain it to you in depth because I'm not that smart about it. But like when I was learning how to code artificial intelligence, I was messing with things like reinforcement learning and just deep learning in general, neural networks, things like that could do image recognition and just stuff like that. And it was all separate. But now you got these large language models that can do it. Just, if I understand it correctly, it turns everything into language. Your language, those are language. The structure we're in is language. It's just language. And so if it can take that, turn it into language, then it can understand what it is in its own way. Even the guys that are building these large language models and have come out and said, we don't exactly understand how this is working, which that's the scary part to me.
yeah, they've taught it, or it's taught.
It's teaching.
itself.
well, that's just like crazy thing.
So
like,
I think it's working in multiple
with
dimensions
Claude,
simultaneously.
like I can download Claude on my own computer and then basically like I could take out the safety guidelines. Like some of these AIs you can download and like basically make like your own Jarvis at home, like your own AI that can
You
do
could grab
whatever.
the
Like
hardware.
one of the chapters in Peterson's new book, We Who Wrestle with God, was written entirely by AI.
Yes.
Do you think AI will ever get to the point, because Elon has voiced his concern with AI, do you think we'll ever get to the point to where like we will hit the kill switch, but it won't kill itself?
I don't know. But what I
Because that
The
and
job-
just so you
the
know,
job
just so you
thing?
know, if you've never read
They've done studies on this.
If you've never read Isaac Asimov's I, Robot, that's what that story is. The story is essentially the intelligence becomes sentient, and then they go to hit the kill switch, and the kill switch doesn't work because the sentient being has now disengaged.
They've
the
done
kill
studies
switch.
on this to where they have people try to unplug the AI, and then they have the AI talk as if it's a person, like it's gonna experience pain or like it doesn't want to stop existing and all this stuff, and it plays on our moral.
But whether or not it's really feeling anything is what's going to be up question. But
they already said it passed the Turing test, and we keep pushing the Turing.
They
test
keep pushing
farther.
the Turing test farther and farther. 2 years ago, it was, can you hand it $100,000 and it start a business? And now it can. And because of agentic AI. That's what we're getting into now. And so now it's these large language models working on separate tasks together collectively.
And that's what,
that's why coding with AI is so good now. That's why
shit makes my chest hurt. I'm just
guys that are going to school for marketing for 4 years are fucked. Yeah. Because these things are going to understand us way better. They already do. I mean,
and you can ask it for a step-by-step breakdown of how to do, like, you're coding this website and you get an error and you're like,
I just copy and paste it, and then I put it in cursor, and then it's like, oh, I got it, I'll fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it fixes it.
Like, and that's like a crazy concept. Is just like I'm thinking too, is just like, how much isn't going to be needed just due to the fact that
my worry is it goes back to what he was talking about, is jobs. I don't see anybody talking about what we're going to do about the massive potential loss of jobs.
That's what those crane workers, did you follow that layoff program all the way through with the strike?
No.
Well, same thing's happening in UPS.
Really? So I know that when they went on strike on the shipyard, they've built AI systems that basically will unload an entire freight liner, take all the things off and put it where they need to go. And so these crane workers all went on strike. And basically, like, half of them retired early, still get paid for their full time. They don't even have to show up to work, and they're getting paid as if they're working there because the AI is doing their job. Yeah. You already have guys that are doing tractor jobs, farm jobs, construction jobs from an office space on a remote program.
Right, but that doesn't solve the problem for my kids' kids. They are going to be born into a world where they have no.
They're not going to be born.
Well, this is okay. So this is interesting, and I don't know how this.
Into a world where they have no
work
ability, no. They learned no task. They are not efficient at any sort of job that the AI world has already superseded itself upon.
At that point, we're multiplanetary.
You know what I mean? No, we're not.
Maybe.
That's the problem. Because again, like you said, we're stuck in this post-World War II.
No, that post-World War II dynamic shifts. And the main focus becomes whatever we end up putting on this pedestal. We don't know what it is yet. Like, you have multiple people competing for whatever the fuck we're going to put on this pedestal across the entire world.
Well, okay, so Elon Musk made this insane claim, and I have no idea what to think about it, but if it worked, it would be weird, but it would be cool, maybe. But he said that he believes that all of this technology could eventually lead to an abundance to the degree where there would not be scarcity. And without scarcity, there's no value, which means we would live in a world without the need of money, and everybody could have what they want whenever they want, which then means nobody would need a job anyways. And then all of these things that the AI will be able to do would be able to do it.
And that allows you just experiences.
That's not true.
But that's a utopian thing, and that's scary.
That is not true. And I'll tell you why. Yevgeny, I can't remember the author's name, but the guy who wrote the book We, it's a dystopian world where everyone has what they need. And oddly, in this scenario, these people in this world have jobs and they do things to like.
Well, I think religiously we'll always need work.
Right, but they're like an interplanetary species.
Yeah, but it's
spiritually,
it's
I should say.
Want to do.
But the whole point is that like you can't live in a world where no one does nothing and then receives all the same, and then you can't definitely say that
it wouldn't be receives all the same.
You definitely
you would
couldn't
also
say no. You
but
definitely
you would get more value.
Can I make my point?
No.
You definitely couldn't say any human can have whatever they want. Abundance. There's no stress. That is not true, because with wealth comes exclusivity. I got this thing because I'm wealthy. I ate an ostrich egg on the top of a mountain in Chile because I make $95.7 million a year, and only 5% of the world
all
has
your
done
wealthy
this.
people are going to be philanthropists. And think about how many people during...
But do you see my point?
Yeah, but my point is, think about how many people during COVID didn't do shit because they didn't have to do shit. And people that still got their layoff money, whatever, unemployment, that were still going out and doing things like of value, like helping other people, doing this and that. You're going to have a group of people that don't do anything. They're not even maybe going to reproduce. They're not going to carry on anything along those lines. And you're going to have people that the Tesla bots go to Mars and already working on terraforming and setting up stuff. You're going to have people going there and having that experience. You're going to have people that just want to experience playing COD plugged in at their house and eating Doritos for their lifetime.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Well, that's
yeah.
okay, but that's what my big worry is let's pretend that Elon Musk was right, and that we have a world of prosperity now, and everybody has an abundance, and there is no need for everybody to do their part to make an economy work because the robots do it all. What are we going to do?
Everybody quits.
Experiences.
Because when you have nothing to do, it doesn't matter how much you have anymore. Like, there's no point. You have no goal. You have nothing to drive you towards it. That's why I think our country, in most aspects, has done well because of capitalism, because it gives us a reason to be competitive.
Something to drive to.
I have an idea. Let me get some debt.
Alien technology and the government giving certain companies mechanisms to break down and re-engineer. Sets other companies up, maybe.
However, you know that experiment with the monkeys where they put some monkeys in this container, more or less, and there's a ladder with a banana on it. Have you heard this?
No.
Okay, so there's a banana on top of the ladder. They got these monkeys in there, right?
Yeah.
And the monkeys try to fight to get up and get the banana. And then I don't remember if they're electrocuted or something. Something happens as a punishment for them trying to get the banana. And so eventually they all stop trying. Then they take out the majority of them and leave like two of the originals and put new ones in. And when the other ones go in, when the new ones try to get the banana, the originals will start beating the shit out of them. Like, no, don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah.
And then it becomes learned behavior. And so I think related to that, if the world did have some sort of alien technology or an abundance or anything like that eventually, after several generations,
we would beat the shit out of each other.
Don't go out and try to do new things.
Yeah.
No, I think that's what happened to our generation.
Cut it out, dude.
Our grandparents.
It all does it for us.
Just
Just chill.
But I think that's what happened.
But that could lead to hedonistic lifestyles, which is also dangerous. Let's just fucking have as many drugs as we want.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's what happened to our generation, though. Our grandparents were raised by parents that grew up in the Great Depression that were like, you got to find something and do it. And then they told then college and stuff like that. So then they forced our parents to go to college to pick something over maybe what our parents wanted to do. So our parents, that bananas are like whatever, like you were into drawing when you were a kid. No, like that's not going to pay the bills. You need to.
Right.
So that's the beating the shit out of the new monkey, the kid that, is trying to reach for the stars.
Yeah, the Indian who
like,
has
no,
to be
you're
a doctor.
never going to achieve that. Get a job at Toyota and fucking drive a decent car and have a decent house.
And that shit drove me insane throughout my 20s. Because all I ever wanted to do was just chase these different dreams, these different business ideas.
And there's no difference.
Because I didn't want to work until I was 67.
Other than the fact that Elon has a group of people that can help create those ideas.
Right. But that's precisely it. If you don't have the network, the capital, the ability to obtain the capital, even if it's debt, then your ideas are just that. Just ideas.
Somebody else will come up with
Somebody else will come up with it. Typically that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I remember studying deeply blockchain technology and having this idea of integrating quantum computing with blockchain. And I was telling my cousin about it, and I was all excited. And then I went and looked it up, and there's like 2 companies out there already doing it.
I was thinking about
Just like you can't have an original idea anymore.
I wonder at what point they don't integrate some sort of aspect of like scrolling. All the people that scroll, why not have that as a back-end program to do something else? Every time somebody scrolls, this program happens elsewhere. This Amazon package gets wrapped every time somebody scrolls. Like as an automating process, like you're just using the person scrolling as a send function for another process elsewhere.
Maybe just shut the fuck up and maybe we'll make some money, Tom. God damn, dude. Jesus, fucking, do you see what I'm dealing with over here?
I just wonder how many programs like that even exist.
They're probably already out there.
There's a lot.
Dude, I don't know.
Well, that was Bitcoin in the beginning. You solve an algorithm.
Yeah, it's still like that. It just gets harder every 4 years.
You create a computer program that does these, math problems on a basis, and lottery, boom, you get something.
Yeah. Back
Google, if you go to google.com, you've now installed a cookie that allows Google to use some of your computer's compute to run these programs for search engines elsewhere.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You might be a genius.
I'm not.
You might be fucking retarded.
I am.
I don't know, dude.
It is crazy though to just like think consciousness, wavelengths, experiences, existence.
Yeah, I hope it ends soon.
Well, that's dark.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm paranoid it's gonna end soon.
I'm totally the opposite, man. I want to have a notebook ending. I want to grow up and with my wife, old, and die in bed together.
Bro, I want
to sit in a room with my great grandkids and just
want
realize
that. We're
these
not gonna
50
get it.
kids over here came from me.
We're not going to get it. It's
What's
a bummer.
crazy? Do you ever look in the mirror and just like you're like, I'm not this?
Yeah.
Like you just sit there and look in the eyes and you're like, I have no connection to this.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's fucking dark.
To what?
Just to like look in the mirror and have no connection.
With yourself?
Yeah. Just to like.
to disconnect from oneself. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fucking dark, dude. It's a dark road to travel. I've been down it 100 times.
Yeah.
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 Dude, I think
dive a little deeper into that for me. Just
like you're looking in the mirror and you're like
you don't recognize yourself.
you're seeing
to a degree, but you're like, I'm in this meat shell, but this isn't me.
Yeah, you're seeing the organic being in front of you.
Just like looking at a dog and being like, there's something in there. Like you can tell that like there's a personality, there's all this extra stuff, but it's like
but it's not that. It's not that. And when you look in the mirror, you're like, I know me. I know what I look like. You think, but it's not that. It's not. You like disconnect. I've done that so many times. By the way,
weird.
Yeah, it's dark. It's a dark road to go down, brother. So next time you look in a mirror, just stay there. Like do this. I challenge.
Like a vampire. I don't
challenge.
look in the mirror.
I challenge.
It's
everyone.
wild. If you sit there, like brush your teeth and like look yourself in the eyes the whole time, and just like focus on like yourself, like recognizing features about yourself.
Dude, you're not telling me anything I haven't already done.
I know.
I challenge everyone listening to this podcast. If you've made it 2 hours in, hear me out. Go to the mirror and just stare at yourself for 5 to 10 minutes and have internal dialogue or whatever, but just look at yourself, dude. You will lose your fucking mind. You don't need acid. You don't need mushrooms.
Yeah, then you just start covering all the mirrors in your house. You're a fucking night walker. It's
like you're a fucking night walker, goddamn vampire.
Wow, you start glittering. Whatever the fuck that term is.
Yeah, you start fucking
sparkling. Like it's fucking kindergarten spelling class all over again.
You
Sparkle.
only fucking date werewolves now. I don't know. I never watched Twilight.
I don't think I've ever actually just like
Do
maybe in my most depressive moments.
It will freak you the fuck out.
But
similarly, how like some people say, turn your phone off and go into another quiet room. Go into a quiet room and block off half an hour to an hour of your day and sit in that room for half an hour to an hour of your day with just your thoughts. Nothing else. Turn the lights off. That's
essentially what we do here. We put our phones up for an hour and a half. And
no.
record.
No frequencies, no lights,
Solitude.
No phones, no TVs.
There's people that don't even sleep with electronics in their room.
Dude, I'm telling you,
that's probably a good idea.
No human can sit in a room not the average human can sit in a room for 30 minutes by themselves with their thoughts. And I promise you, if you can and you do, you will have some of the most creative thoughts, some of the most interesting. Once your mind quiets down, like it's weird to be in a room just quiet for 30 minutes.
I've never experienced that.
Let alone an hour.
Every time I've been alone, which I spent a long time alone, in a room, sometimes dark or not, and
I've been in
with my
prison
thoughts.
too, dude. Don't worry about
well,
it. No,
basically,
I'm joking.
sometimes it feels like that.
I have been in
when you
prison.
have very lengthy time periods of being alone, like not seeing anybody else, days, weeks. I asked my therapist, I'm like, I talk to myself all the time, and he's
Most
like,
people should.
that's okay. And
Yeah,
he was
Bill
like,
Gates says
that's
all
not. He was like,
geniuses
that's.
talk to
He was like,
themselves.
that's not uncommon for people who spend a lot of time alone. I was like, okay, cool. I ran with it. I talk to myself all the fucking time.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Every minute I get alone, I just start spitting out shit like what we're talking about.
Is it out loud?
'Cause I don't
verbally,
have-
or is it all mentally to yourself?
Oh, I talk out loud, dude.
Audibly?
Yeah,
I do too.
I don't have people to talk to about any of this stuff other than this setting and estuary. My wife is a very simple-minded, nature-loving Christian woman who does very good at, being a mom and being herself and all this good stuff. But she has no interest whatsoever in contemplating more deeper aspects of reality and life and any of that stuff. None of my friends are the same. Anybody like the older generations, it just seems as if they prefer to go to work, come home, turn on their favorite show, have a beer,
Yeah.
go to bed.
It is.
And
what
I'm
it
not,
is.
I've never been that kind of person. Like,
Yeah.
even while I'm working, I'm contemplating shit that doesn't matter. Just like, shut the fuck up, Chris, and just chill. Just chill.
Yeah.
But I can't,
Yeah. I
Like-
get it, dude.
And I read a lot, and I watch a lot, and I listen to a lot.
Dude, I'm fucking so goddamn anxious. I'm always thinking about something.
Yeah.
For real. I get it, dude. I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Well, what's crazy is like I just heard somebody the other day in some video I was watching described God, like being close to God is when you can do something and you zone out and you're just like you're in the moment, kind of like a dog going to a beach and that dog just loses their shit. They don't know where they're at, they're just lost in the fact that they're those dog videos you like with the GoPro.
Dude, I fucking love dogs with GoPros. Oh.
But like when you're in those moments, that's where you experience the divine as this like disconnect from self, which is like wild.
Just euphoric. Just a fucking machine of God. Just
Yeah, maybe we'll outro on one of those videos.
can I send you one and you plug it in?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, grounding, like outside.
makes my
is-
heart happy.
Yeah, so
very
that's like
similar.
that's like a cool. I was gonna. This is like towards.
And you
my
should do it-
wrapping up questions. It was gonna be like, what therapy, like what coping mechanisms did you used to think are gay as fuck, and now you're like, wow, like actually, like at night when I'd have these racing thoughts, like just simply focusing only on your breathing in and out, and any other thought comes in, try to just I got to focus on breathing in and out and like counting and like dude I'll pass out in no time. If I have racing thoughts, that's what I do. So like that would like as an example would be like somebody was like, oh, just breathe through it. I'd be like, dog, that's gay. You know what I mean? Like just breathe. Okay, yeah, like I've been breathing my whole life. You know what I mean? But actually, realistically speaking,
My neighbor's gay. He breathes. He breathes through it. Is that what you want me to breathe through
but
it?
you know what I'm saying? Like what coping mechanisms
You just
did
want
you
me
think
to. You
was
just want me to
just, like,
fucking breathe through it. Yeah.
like I think it's a decent question of like what did you used to think was dumb? Like that would never work. And then like you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Do you
shit.
have a therapy like that?
Yeah,
that
probably like crack. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't
this
know,
dude
man.
Is wired up like a fucking. No, but seriously though, is there any therapeutic modality that you used to like? That's stupid as hell. I can't believe you believe in that, and now you do it, or now you found solace in it, or at least validity in it.
I probably should do more coping things. I don't know. I don't think really anything is. I don't know. I guess whenever I first got introduced to coping mechanisms, I thought they were all gay. You know, I
Right.
was like, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
You want me to talk to this wall? You want me to put my
You want
feet
me
on
to
the
sit in
ground
a
and
room
look
alone
around
and talk to myself?
Oh, there's the color red and there's the color black and all that. Yeah. Well, I can see how it can work if you're actually like focused on it.
Yeah, you have to buy in.
But I would say, I mean, like, it's not really an answer to the question, but one of the greatest things that I did find simultaneously I changed my diet. I would go outside barefoot and ground, like just stand on the ground and do deep breathing, like Wim Hof breathing, for about 3 minutes. And I started this in the winter, by the way, so it was like 20, 30 degrees depending on the day.
Real Wim Hof shit.
Yeah, and then I would go in and do a cold plunge. And then I would go to the gym. And like all of those things together just fucking made my life awesome.
It can't make it worse. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I don't even know how to explain what it did, but everything about the way I felt and thought was better, more calm. But the cold plunge thing, I got screwed out of. I don't know. This is weird. Have you ever done cold plunges?
Yeah, we did the polar plunge.
I've never done like
You ever done the
like
heard
a
of the polar plunge?
tub, and you get in the tub with ice. I've never done that, but I've like swam in -degree water. Yeah, because we did the cold plunge.
Yeah, the polar plunge is for the Special Olympics, and they in Boonville in February, I believe. The Scales Lake like normally freezes over, and they have firefighters go out there in like warm suits, and they bust open a patch of ice, and you basically like go all the way out there, and then like touch some people and run back.
Well, they touch you. Well, I don't know how.
I mean,
Like
people
you
like,
get in the
somebody
water?
gets
yeah, you
touched.
run all the way out
Yeah.
there. The water goes up to like here.
Yeah.
And then like some people,
But just for
baptize
a
themselves
little
in.
bit. Like just what, 10 seconds?
It's like
No, it's
50
probably
feet
like a
into the
minute,
water.
a minute and a half.
Yeah, you got to go
Okay.
like from the shoreline to like 50 feet.
And you can walk it out. Like some people will sit there and just like slowly walk. Some people, I think 2 years ago, I ran and just jumped in.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, I just walked straight there and walked straight back.
I wore my.
Okay, did you guys get the experience of like you almost feel like you go numb and peaceful?
Numb for sure. I don't know that peaceful is the first word that comes to mind.
Yeah, normally I was just screaming like, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Kill me. I want to die.
I would do the ice baths and I'd get it down. I think the coldest I got it was like 42 degrees. And for water, that's cold, you know.
Yeah.
And and I had been doing it long enough that I wanted to push it to 3.5 minutes. And because after the initial shock and like the first minute, you just like
You go numb, your body heats the
and then
water around
and then
you.
I don't even know if I don't know what the fuck happens. I
It
just know that
does.
I go like super peaceful and I stop thinking. And it was great. But then one day I get out and my hands are black and purple. I was like, what the fuck? And so like every time now, even today, this was like 2 years ago, when I touch things that are cold or I'm out in cold weather, my hands, they go black and purple.
That's crazy.
Ooh, brother, you might have damaged something.
I did, but I asked the doctor about it. He didn't fucking know.
Yeah, doctors are stupid, dude. Here's where I'm at on it, though. I was just talking to my therapist about this the other day. I was like, I get real fucking violent and angry sometimes when I'm, whatever. We're going through this thing that I'm talking about in the moment. And she was like, well, when you have those moments of blinding blackout, only see red rage, you know
Those are
what you
great.
should do? She said you should do something that's like shocking to your body. She said she said, do you like spicy food? I said, yeah, I can tolerate spicy food. She said, you can tolerate it or you like it? And I was like, I can tolerate it and I like it. Like the hotter the better. And she's like, oh, that's not a good example. She was like, okay, she was like, well, what you could do is go to your freezer and go get a fistful of ice in one hand and a fistful of ice in the other hand the next time that you're experiencing this blinding blackout, burn your house down rage, which I frequently have. And I was
If like a cable's unplugged.
and I was like, okay. That seems mildly impractical, but I was like, if I think of it and I'm in the moment, I'll try this. But there's some theoretical proof that like shocking your body can really bring you back to like it's almost like a Control-Alt-Delete, fucking systems check, fucking shut it, put everything on pause. Let's just see what's running. Let's see what's not responding. Let's fucking shut this down, shut that down. You know what I mean? Like I think there's some validity there is the point.
I think it would be cool to do an episode where, like that, like where that dinner where they all bring an idiot We should all bring our therapist.
I should-
We do a podcast where we
If that was legal, I would be open
I
to
have
it,
a
100%.
fucking crazy story for you after this. When we got to wrap up. We're well over 2 hours. I'm so sorry. If anybody, surely we've lost everybody at this point.
No, fuck it. There's gonna be some people that like stayed for when we started to get into like the deeper talk stuff, and they just honed in.
I fucking hope so. I hope they just locked the fuck in and now they're like, why shut
There's
up.
gonna be like a small group of people that wish that would be our entire podcast.
Let me wrap this podcast on this. Chris, do you have any last moment thoughts on anything that you for sure want to put out into the universe before we terminate this beautiful thing that we've done tonight?
We'll have to do it again, and we'll just call it like Deep Thoughts.
Seriously, by the way,
Sure.
thank you so much for coming in. This is a jump off into a dark realm. You didn't know me, you did know Tom, but this is a weird thing to do to, you know what I mean? This is going to be in front of hundreds of people, thousands of people. So seriously, like, I really do appreciate you. But yeah, to tie up the show, man, do you have any last minute thoughts that you want to put into the universe, or a thought or anything? Yeah.
First of all, this has been awesome. I mean, I love the setup. Most of the time, it really just felt like we weren't even on a podcast. Like we were just connecting with each other. And that's what I like. I like being able to connect with people and have these conversations. And I'd love to do it again, for sure. But
I think we just make a group message and just send deep thoughts, and then we just literally sit down and like,
fuck yeah, dude. I'm here for it.
For the audience, I would just say, you know, whatever's going on in your life, if you can find something to hone in on that's good and truthful, go for it and just keep stepping. Because, I mean, like earlier you were like, can't wait, you know, but if everybody in the world has that mentality, then where are we going to go?
You're not wrong.
You know?
You're not wrong, dude.
I think we need a lot more truth and goodness in the world.
We do.
And love. So
yeah.
And some of those red anger moments.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm working on it, brother.
Thanks, guys.
No, thank you so much, Chris. Dude, and thank you guys if you've made it 2 hours and 15 minutes into this podcast. Greatly appreciated. Do what you gotta do. Tell your friends about us. Hit the like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Tom, thank you.
That's gay.
Thank you for having the Tri-State's worst mustache.
I thought about trimming it this week. I didn't though.
Trying to twirl it.
Yeah, dude. Seriously, Chris, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
You are. I really appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
And I appreciate all you guys, man. Thank you guys for everything that you do. And Tom,
Yeah,
so
this has been another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Thomas Grimm.
you almost said Brian Day.
I did.
My name is Brian Michael Day, and this has been. You do it. You can outro yourself. I don't want to mess up the last name.
Yeah, McElwain. Chris
McElwain.
Yep.
It's like Yugoslavian or something.
McElwain.
Mackle Lil Wayne.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Seriously, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.